welcome to episode 102 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills, and I'm joined as always by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. We are using the magazine Zapped 64 as a monthly guide for the games to focus on, but we are in no way affiliated with Zapped 64 itself. This week, we start our look at October 1988 and the first batch of games reviewed in issue 42 of Zapped 64, along with what was also going on in the UK singles and albums chart that month. Graham, there is much to discuss, so inform the listeners of what pleasures are on offer.
In this incredibly tasty homemade chicken stir-fry of an episode. Guns, guns, guns. We explore the various types. A-type, B-type, not R-type though, in the clone-you-like C64 coding wonder shoot-em-up, Katakis. We climb, stagger and plummet our way around some dreary obstacles in the dubious and dysfunctional Mr. Wino, develop serious tendinitis and carpal tunnel as we furiously waggle our joysticks through a decathlon in the wrist-aching Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge, and climb atop our trusty flying steed, take to the skies and tunnels, and shoot everything in the well-animated Odysseus Trojan Warrior. Add a slackful of Reaper chilies to your stir-fry and you will turn your arsehole into a lit cigar. I've proved it in tests. We also manage an international football team through a whole series of options and choices in the statty and option-loaded Tracksuit Manager. Try and make sense of a game that works hard to make none whatsoever with the crappy Diamond. Stake out some crazy drug dealers in a non-conspicuous van and get incredibly bored doing it in LA Crackdown, before finally exploring the dull mazes, silly shoot-em-ups and crappy platforms, all looking for proper definition in the Vindicator. If this was a buffet, it would be almost 100% vol-au-vent, and nobody ever wants vol-au-vents.
Watch her as she takes the pleasures from the serpent that once corrupted man.
Indeed. Not pleasant, is it?
No.
There are there may be some pleasures. I'm not sure everything is a pleasure that's
Depends how you
up.
define pleasure, doesn't it?
Pleasure, pain, some pleasure, others pain.
You're starting to sound like bloody Pinhead again.
It just happens. I'll
Slipping it out of Pinhead. It's Pinhead Tourette's. Just slips in and out of Pinhead. No tears, please. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I said that.
Just because you failed your assignment, no tears, please. Don't go down too well in today's modern lecturing. You
opened the box of chocolates. I came. Actually, that's quite gross, really, as well.
Not really. I heard them from the other room. I would have been Davros then.
It's just a chocolate box. No, it's really not. He doesn't say that. Not. He doesn't say that. He says things like that, though.
He does. Bloody Pinhead. Anyway, it's the first. It's a new month. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. So we have to discuss the cover.
We do.
Let's have a look at the cover. And this is a cover.
Yeah, is that a space prawn?
It's a something. I don't know. It's a bit
space
of a lobster.
Crab.
Space lobster.
Yeah, space lobster, I think.
It's something. There are things to note on this. So it's the best-selling Commodore magazine in Britain. They make a thing now. They're covering Amiga games. They've switched over. They're definitely officially. They're blowing up the 64, if you notice.
Oh, they are, yeah. Cheeky, that.
Did you know? Yeah, I know
cheeky, a bit cheeky, that.
So they're blowing up the 64, so that's going. The price has gone up from £1.25 to £1.50. It actually says only 25p extra, and I'm selling my children into slavery.
What?
Not pleasant, is it?
Oh, a bit dark.
I know, it is a bit dark, that, isn't it? Selling my granny into white slavery. That's a bit grim.
Yes, you can't put that on there.
Well, it's on there.
Terrible.
It's also gone up to 9 Deutschmarks if you're in Germany.
That is a lot of Deutschmark.
That's a lot of Deutschmark.
But you could get yourself 6 Schnitzengruben for that.
Oof, you must have an enormous Schwanstucker for that much. For that many Deutschmarks. So, bit of you can walk sideways and win a trip to Egypt.
What does that mean? Is that to do with walk like an Egyptian?
I think so, yeah.
They don't walk sideways. In fact, Egyptians don't walk like that.
No, that would be a crab.
What are they on about?
I don't know. Starglider 2, it's Amiga, but of interest is the big gap in the corner. If you're Fab Zap, there's a mega tape. Mega
tape.
And you've got something interesting about that mega tape, haven't you, Graham?
Yes, I have, because the mega tape was meant to be a playable level of the game Katakis, but because of events, it was replaced in the 11th hour by Drum roll. Time Tunnel.
That's the weird gnome traveling one.
Yeah, that was the space baguette, wasn't it? We thought he was a baguette. Yeah. Time traveling baguette wielding gnome.
That's the one. When did we review that? That was ages ago.
They must have trolled the depths of hell to find that for a freebie. What can we put the cover? We're desperate. I don't know that. Oh, that'll do.
Yeah, so weird. Why pick that?
I don't know.
Oh, that's just very odd.
It's the full game, though, in all fairness, I think.
I mean, that's fair enough. It's whether you want it or not, isn't it? I mean, it was all right, I suppose.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. It's not Katakis, though, is it? You'd be like, oh.
It's really not Katakis, no, which is obviously the cover, which is the cover illustration, isn't it? The space crab.
Space
prawn,
crab.
Lobster, whatever.
Yep.
So there's a spaceship shooting a bigger spaceship.
Yep.
And the smaller thing is blowing up the 64. It's all right. I'm not a big fan of this cover.
No. It's a bit, it's not quite up to the usual standard, I don't think, really. I think it's just a little bit, it's not quite as good as the others have been, so.
No, the effects are good, the explosions and the sort of trailing one that's going up but it's just, I don't know, I think it's just badly composed. I don't like the big spot prawn.
No, it's the sort of perspective issues, it's just not as good as it has been in the past. And that does look like a deep fried crab, which is, space crab. I'm all for space crab, that's good, but not like that. Not like that.
Not like that. No, not like that. Anyway, there you go. That's your cover. It's not a particularly great one, but it's just interesting because of I was obviously switching over to the Amiga.
It is. And also, it wins the award for the most boring supplement of the year.
What, a 24-page PC show supplement?
Yeah.
You mean you're not excited by that, Graham?
No, I went to that PC show as well.
Did you?
And it was boring. Yes, I did.
Yeah, but would you not want a 24-page reminder of it?
No. I was really disappointed. I remember buying 100 discs because they were quite cheap and then wandering around aimlessly, not really being impressed by anything. So,
yeah.
Wasn't great. And I also went to the one in the following year as well, like an idiot, because I thought it might be better. I was expecting to meet like Cenas and stuff like that. No decent coding demo creators going to go to that. And anyway, it just didn't happen. The Commodore show was worse, but PC show wasn't great. Anyway,
there you go. That's the cover. We've got games to do. Should we get into some games?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into some games. And let's get into our first game. And our first game, it's over to you, Graham. It was supposed to be on a tape, but it was replaced by a time-traveling baguette-wielding dwarf. So
those rascals, they're always doing stuff like that.
Absolutely. I reckon the gnome nicked in and nicked the game, basically. I think he was up to something. But for those who couldn't play the game because they haven't got the tape and they can only enjoy Time Tunnel, tell us all about Katakis.
Oh, Katakis. Troubled Katakis, really. This is from Rainbow Arts, coded by Manfred Trenz, the mighty Manfred Trenz. Graphics by Andreas Escher, and the musician was, of course, Chris Hulsbeck. Same team, relatively the same team. I think maybe Andreas was a new addition, but they were basically the guys behind Janus Sisters.
Yes.
Which was a clone of Mario, as we've discussed in the past. This one, well, another day, another game clone comes along, another potential copyright infringement, and another potential lawsuit avoided. All in a day's work, isn't it, for Manfred Trenz and the Rainbow Arts posse?
Yep.
This time they earned the ire of Activision, who had bought the rights to produce R-Type, which this game blatantly rips off. There's no way around that. It is
blatantly.
I mean, this is just an outright copy of that game. This and I think R-Type and perhaps Denarius in the arcades, which is that I forget which ones they are, but Nemesis, that kind of thing. But this particular one is R-Type.
This is R-Type. It's R-Type.
Yeah, it's totally R-Type. This is copy R-Type. And I'll put this out at the beginning because we can talk about the game. Activision did not like the fact that this was out there. They were in the middle of producing R-Type at this time and realised quite quickly that this was way better than their game that they had.
I wonder how they told their who they had making it. I wonder if they sort of walked in and slapped this on and went, "Look at that!"
Awkward conversation, yeah. So how's the game going? Have you seen this? Oh no, we haven't seen that. You have now. Get out.
Get out. Take your crap copy with you.
Take your crappy version with you. That's more like an A-type. So this obviously rips that off, and Activision took out an injunction preventing its release here in the UK. So it didn't get released, hence the reason why the cover tape was taken off Zap, and it did get reviewed in Zap, but it was never released in the UK, as far as I'm aware, ever. There's another story attached to all of this, which I'll cover at the end. But long and short of it is, it did get very limited release in Germany and a few other little places. Not Germany's not a little place, but little places in other places. And Germany's massive.
Little places in other places. Just,
yeah.
We didn't release it there, it was too big. But he had a little place over there.
They measured it. How big's Germany? It's cheap. That's okay. It's the right size. We can release it there. But it's bigger than the UK. Well, all right.
Yeah, but we're only releasing it in a little place within Germany.
Yeah, little over this, little over this, little Hoven. Anyway, so hence it was massively distributed by, of course, our friend the pirate scenes.
Tiny Platson.
So the Tiny Platsons did get a release, and they released it in enough places for it to get massively distributed via the pirate copy scene.
Yeah,
that's how I got mine.
That's how I played this as well.
So, and that's how I also partook in the distribution of this because it was quite hot wares at the time.
Distributor, you.
I know, terrible, isn't it? Terrible. All that money Manfred Trends never got. Wait a minute. Anyway, so that's how I got to play this back in the day. So that's a little bit of the history of this, and then I'll come back to it because there's a little bit of an interesting footnote and also some asides. I'm not going to go, crazy on it. It's a shoot 'em up at the end of the day, so we're not going to go.
Sounds like you're writing an essay. There's footnotes, there's asides, there's appendix.
For me, it's back to washing machines. That's how somebody ended one of an essay that they submitted when I was a tutor at a university once, just as an aside. For me, it's back to washing machines because they got fed up of writing. True story, yeah. Anyway, how it all began, Adrian, how it all began. In another universe, beyond the imagination, lies the planet Katakis. But by the way, they came up with that name, and I think it's in the German phone book for something.
Yeah, someone they knew or someone, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that, somewhere. Yeah. The most central planet in the tri-solar system. Central planet, tri-solar. Okay. Terrible gravity around there if they've got 3 stars in there. Anyway, in the beginning, the planet was a paradise for its inhabitants. Intelligence on the planet was flourishing, with much research taking place. At the beginning, very simple genetic machines were developed. This form of industry grew much faster than anybody could previously have imagined. Of course, it could have only been that way, couldn't it? Because they didn't have the intelligence to imagine it previously. Let's just, park all that. Simple constructions which could do the hard work were at first sufficient, but then more complex machines began to interest the scientists. The machines became very specialized and ultimately very intelligent. Then they formed Skynet, and then they took over everything, and there was much crushing of skulls.
And then the sea greens came.
And the protein and the plankton and the sea greens. People of Katakis had put all their creative power into their new development, but dun dun dun, the machines developed into independent beings. They turned against their creators and began to devastate the paradise. I like that command. Devastate the paradise. Execute Order 62. Disastrous natural catastrophes were brought about by them. Not natural, saying. The machines learnt how to increase and use their destructive powers. Forests were destroyed with gases. Lakes and rivers were polluted with chemicals. Life on Katakis was unbearable. The despairing Katakians, all right. Katakians, bless you. Knew that there was only one way to end this reign of terror. Use the atom bomb. I think maybe whoever thought of that plan, get rid of him. The whole surface of the planet Katakis was destroyed by the bomb. Free life was now impossible, so a small group of survivors set up an underground stronghold. Here, they were protected from the deadly radiation, but they lived lives of misery in eternal darkness.
God, this is well bleak.
I know, they changed and mutated into totally grey life forms, half machine, half organism. The aggression of the machines was vented on the inhabitants of Katakis. Systematically, the whole planet was stripped of life. The machines built new machines. Huge factories produced more advanced models. What if they played this before they wrote The Matrix? Anyway, even 10 years after the beginning of the machine revolt, Katakis is still a scene of permanent attack on life, without rest, day in, day out, without certain end. The survivors tried to build machines without independent intelligence to beat the destructive life forms, but he's always failed.
It was a naff effort.
The Katakians knew that the only hope was to set up a base at a safe distance from the planet. This had until now, however, not been achieved. All who tried to reach the center of the machine city, their interesting term there, failed. In one final try, the remaining Katakians put all their technical knowledge together to invent a space glider that could be built very quickly. Will this space glider survive its mission? Will the weapons be enough? Will it succeed in penetrating the center of the ruling machines? Will the Katakians be free again? So that's the story of Katakis. It's a side-scrolling shoot 'em up.
Yeah, no. Space glider.
Space glider. You
From Rainbird.
Doesn't sound very threatening, a space glider. I've seen gliders. No, they're not that threatening.
Yeah, we haven't seen a space glider, have you?
That is very true. So that's the story of Katakis. This is a side-scrolling shoot 'em up. And interestingly, you'll start the game, you get the title screen. Now, I'll cover all the different variations of all this stuff, but for just for the sake of it, there are a number of different interesting modes in this. So you've got one player and two player. You've also got a teamwork mode where one player controls the spaceship. I believe it's called the Eagle Fighter, and the other one controls the satellite. So that's quite interesting. It's not so. A couple of games that have that kind of co-op. Druid did a kind of co-op, didn't it? And
Whizball.
Did Whizball have it as well? Yeah,
Whizball. Yeah, because you could have one controlling the catalog.
So it's not a new thing, but it's interesting in this. I think it's the first shoot 'em up of this type that did it, but. They're all kind of varying and bouncing ideas off the same few games in the arcades at the moment, aren't they? Because Whizball sort of nicked some shoot 'em up ideas from something. And anyway, it doesn't matter. But those are the things you can do. So you can sort of play complementary, and satellites is kind of indestructible, isn't it? So they can sort of shield you, and it's quite a nice way of playing it if you're going to do that. So there's some really nice ideas in this, I think. And there's some incredible code in this game. But it does have issues. So when you start the game, you'll get the title screen, which is nice, and there's a decent soundtrack. I wouldn't say it was his best work, actually. Chris Hulsbeck he's an amazing composer, and it is good, and there's actually better game music inside the game. But it's okay. But it's so you'll get presented with that. You choose your one or two player or teamwork option, which I think is pretty cool, and then you're pretty much straight into the game. A little bit of loading now, depending on which version you had, would depend how it was going to load for you. This game featured a series of different levels. It was actually, I think, developed on a very specific type of code base that utilized certain extensible things of different drives, I think. That's the best way I can describe it. The original version we got for this, I couldn't get that to work, which was a D64. So it was the standard D64 type deal. But this game was never designed to work on that kind of standard disk setup. The disk setup for this was actually a fairly advanced one. And so in order for the emulator to be able to play that, it has to be a G64 file, because the G64 features all the extensible 1571, whatever the hell it is. I'm sure Manfred Trenz has probably got a long explanation as to all the fancy stuff, but it made it work better. Was long and short of it. So that was the version I played for this. So once you start the game, you're into R-Type. You're a shoot 'em up. You start on the left, and the background starts to scroll. There's a nice star effect in there as well. You've got a nice decent spaceship design, and then obviously the shooting doth begin. There are a whole bunch of upgrades in this game as well, which I'll come to as well. So there's quite a lot of that. But that's principally it's a shoot 'em up. You scrolls from right to left. You travel from left to right, and you must make your way through the levels, of which I never noted how many there are.
12, I think.
12 levels, I think. So you travel. The idea is you get through all the 12 levels. There are bosses at the end of these as well. It's R-Type. So if you know how R-Type works, or Salamander works, or any of the shoot 'em ups of this genus, you don't really need me to describe what you have to do. Control heroes with the joystick. You can shoot with the button, and if you hold the button down, you get like a power shot, just like R-Type does.
Yeah, it's exactly like R-Type.
It's R-Type. There are loads of upgrades in this: scatter shot, speed up, blitz shot. There's stuff like that. I'll sort of come to them as we go through a little bit, but they're the same as they are in R-Type. There's slight variation, but basically the same. So the graphics in this are actually good in this game. They're good graphics. Main sprites look nice. Loads going on. The main window is the gameplay area that auto-scrolls right to left as you traverse from left to right in your Eagle Fighter. At the very top is your player score and area indication. At the very bottom is your lives and indications of the power of your upgrades, etc. All that stuff, easy to read, all very R-typey. Background has a nice star effect. The background environment varies a lot as well. So you're going through different environments. That starts off with some rocks and things and asteroids, I guess. We don't really call them rocks, do they? Asteroids and meteors, things like that.
Yeah.
Space rocks is a bit, but it doesn't give them the magnitude they deserve, really, does it?
Space rocks sounds like a sort of 1980s American cereal.
It probably is. So and you'll get a lot of that. Then you'll go into sort of in places, and you've got a whole bunch of stuff to sort of try and traverse and navigate your way through. All the time you're being attacked, like R-Type. You've got things that walk across the bottom, like R-Type. So you've got turrets that will shoot you, like R-Type does. and waves of enemies that will come at you in lines. Sometimes they'll travel across in waves and sine waves. I noticed this was less sine wavy and more liney, and then diagonal dives. There was lots of diagonal dives in this. So sometimes that Delta was all loops. They came in, all the enemies came looping in, loopy, wham. This one's like coming at you straight away, dive down to a jaunty angle, then straight at you again. So it's R-Type. R-Type does that more. I think this is probably one of the top C64 shooters in terms of how it looks and in terms of how it presents as a whole. It all plays and works like R-Type. Your Eagle Fighter can shoot, and like I said, and if you hold the fire button, you're down. And if you get the extra, you can shoot. There's like color blobs you can shoot, which will give you mini upgrades. And you can get more upgrades, and you can upgrade the upgrades so they can become more powerful as well. So you can become quite a powerful ship, and it handles that part quite well. You do feel as empowered as you did in Salamander, because Salamander had the same thing. They've sort of learned the lesson of not starting you with literally nothing, and then like Delta did, where you were punished for if you had a few things. You can sort of it doesn't do that. You sort of get powered up quite quickly, which is nice. And you've got that sort of powerful shot thing that you can do. There are loads of upgrades that you can collect, as I've said. They do significantly power your ship up, firing different things like laser weapons and multi-directional bullets. There's tons of them. And of course, you've got the satellites, which kind of bolt onto the front of your ship or the back. And you can press spacebar and you can set that shooting off. And because it's indestructible, it can go out and you can sort of, and that will also fire depending on how it's upgraded as well. So you can have a lot of stuff flying about in this. Quite crazy. I quite like the fact that you can detach that. It's handy. It's always awkward when you're in the middle of a fray like game like this and you've got to press spacebar. It's just awkward. So teamwork and two players probably a good option for this, really. So like I said, in teamwork, one controls the ship, the other controls satellite. That's quite nice. The aim of this is to make your way through, as I said, and you'll fight some of the larger bosses. Now, the bosses are pretty impressive when you get to them in terms of the scale of what they've attempted. I think that's what I'll say. And they've really made a good attempt to try and create proper bosses in a shoot 'em up. We never really got that in a lot of them. Sometimes, even with IO, as graphically as impressive as it was, IO felt like a great big background with a few bits moving in it. These are giant moving things, and that's quite cool that they've done that. And they are medium res. The graphics here are a kind of medium res, but they don't necessarily feel badly designed. There's nice shading on them. The graphics are pretty good. The graphics are all pretty good. So when you do get to the sort of bosses, obviously you've got to just shoot the hot spots, as it were, very like R-Type. And it's all kind of in that standard scrolling shoot 'em up fashion, clearly linked to how they play. They've obviously done their homework and played the arcade to death to be able to mirror it like this. So, like I said, some of the bosses are massive. It's nice to see that. But there are issues with some of them as well, which I'll come to. On the whole, I think it succeeds, and the graphics are very good throughout the game. So let's look at the really positive. So as a product, it succeeds, and it succeeded so well that they took it off the shelves because it looked exactly like the thing they were ripping off. So it succeeded in that. The graphics are very good. The audio is really professional in terms of its sound effects and its music. Some of it's better than others, but it's all a good package. And it certainly feels like, when it powers up and you roll into the game, it really feels like what it is. You feel like you're in an R-Type game. Very, very challenging. I think probably too difficult, actually, if I was brutally honest. I think there's, even with the power-ups and some of the shooting that you can do, it can get quite a lot happening, and you can very quickly, run into things, and it's just, I don't know, I found it quite hard to get off even the first level. To get to the first boss was a near miracle. So it is very difficult. And there are annoying quirks which don't help that, which you are going to encounter. Upgrades that spawn in weird places. So where they appear inside of a rock or inside of the thing, and you can't get to them, and if you hit any of the enemies, any of the rocks, space rocks, any of the scenery in this game, you're going to die. It's going to blow you up. So it's a bit unfriendly in that way. So you don't have the affordance of having sort of energy or you can pick a shield up, but you don't have that initially. And if you don't have that and you hit something, you're dead. One of your 3 lives is gone. You can burn through your lives fast in this game, let me tell you. So with the upgrades spawning in weird, sometimes impossible places, death means that you can often be underpowered because of that. And because of that previous problem, it can sometimes mean that you can't upgrade as quickly as you should be able to when you die, because sometimes you'll die and you do get a little opportunity to get some of your upgrades back. But if they appear in stupid places, you can't get them, and then you are dead. There is no. So if you don't get those upgrades, you're dead. And it shouldn't be that way. You should be able to survive a little bit and just make it easier. Don't have any enemies on the screen when you first reappear. Give the player a few seconds to gather up those key things just to get, even if they're half powered to what they were. You start in the middle of if you start the middle of these levels underpowered, you are dead in seconds because you just can't. You can navigate around. You can just fly. You move pretty quick. Your main sprite speed of when you initiate the game is pretty fast. Actually, probably a little too fast because you tend to find that you sort of overshoot everything and slam into things all the time. But
yeah.
Just the way it is. The number of sprites on the screen and characters on the screen on this is a technical tour de force. This is well put together. I mean, I don't know how they have got the volume of things on the screen for this, but it's stunning. And I think you also, of course, with that, as with Salamander and a couple of other things, when you're pushing the machine like that, you get flickering. But here, unlike Salamander, which sort of flickered, and it was more of a slowdown than a flicker in Salamander, I think. Here, it's more detrimental to the game when it does it, because it's more of a judder, and it's actually detrimental to the play. So it feels like it doesn't just flick, it feels like the game momentarily, fractionally stops, like micro pauses. And I think that can often lead to death in this. It didn't always do it in Salamander. It slowed down, but you was often not going to necessarily die at that moment. If it happens in this, you get that kind of slow stutter, I call it. If it stutters, you can very quickly die because you just hit something and it freezes the control of the game. That's a bigger problem than just something slowing down, I think. Mm-hmm. Now, that could be a quirk of the version I played because there are different versions. Again, I'll cover that in a minute. So I don't doubt Manfred Trenz is fully flexing his coding muscles. I mean, in order to get what he's got on the screen here, you have to be at the top level of control of the code in that. This has got to be optimized in ways that I can't imagine to get that volume of stuff like moving around. I mean, remember that you've got stars in the background and you've got moving backgrounds and you've got all those sprites and you've got all those characters on there. There's a lot going on. So take that flickering out for a minute. I found that, I don't know if you found this, but sometimes sprites just appeared randomly out of nowhere. So there was a little bit, and that's an error in the multiplexer. That's the multiplexer losing itself a little bit, I think. And so aside from that, and aside from sort of things appearing, and again, that can unfortunately lead to an untimely demise, it does mean that this is less about issues with the code pushing the machine, as Salamander was. Feels these are more like the bugs. These are more like bugs that have been exposed as the game's gone on, and that isn't necessarily a good thing. That could be like a playtesting. That could be just that I don't know what quite caused that. I don't know. So there's loads of versions of this game out there. Many of them, in fact, most of them are cracked. This game was known to have loading issues, even on the original version, and that's compounded with these weird technical issues when you've got lots of fancy technical stuff going on that's reliant on I would imagine some of the illegal opcodes for the 6502 that weren't well publicized at the time, and there's probably some real fancy next level stuff. In fact, if you actually look at the code on this, it's just invisible. There's no code. The 65 just knows how to do it. Don't know how it works. It's a mystery, not really. So with all those versions out there, it's hard to find. I find it hard to find what you would call a definitive version because there's so many. Obviously, this was released by every cracking team under the sun. And at the time, even on CSDB, there's a whole bunch of versions on there. Some of them are this, some of them are that. I ended up using the G64 version, which I got from Games That Weren't, because there's a downloadable of it on there, which I figured would probably be the best one to play. And it worked. That was the one that worked in the best way, but it still had the sort of stuttering problem. And I don't know that that's something I think that's on every version. So it's got weird disk loaders, weird formatting. I got the flickering. It oddly, like I said, it jolts, stutters, I guess. Remarkably, I completed this way back in the day. Now, I remain a big fan of this. I actually have I have a fond memory of this because it cost me a Competition Pro joystick.
They're not easy to break.
It is when you fling it at a wall in anger. And I did that because I was, obviously I had reflexes at the time, don't so much now, and time on my hands. So this was a game that I'd managed to just, bash my way through. I don't know, but I did. And I don't know that I'm looking at it now. I'm thinking I must have used a cheat or something. I don't think I can't imagine I managed, even with good reflexes, I don't think I'd have got through 12 levels of that. But I don't know. I can't remember. I do remember smashing my joystick in rage and that was, I think, because of the flickering and because of the bugs. And I think it killed me at a key moment. And I was like, damn you. And then that cost me a Competition Pro. So I had to buy a new one. Does it all detract all that stuff? Does it detract it from being a great shooter? Yes. The problem is here, yes and no. And this is the great sadness, really. It's different to Salamander and Nemesis, I suppose, in a way. I did like the affordance that it gave you in terms of the power upgrades. That I like that about Salamander as well. And I did like that because I like the way that that affordance that you got in games like Salamander and stuff like that made you feel super powerful right initially. So you had a good, you had a lot going on, but you felt like you was in a good position. You're thinking, right, I can tackle all this stuff. Mm-hmm. You don't really get that with Katakis as such. It's not the same. It's good, but it's not quite the same as that. I like the polish and the confident approach to the code. There are genuine technical feats of crazy in it, especially with the bosses. I mean, that is multiplexing on a very clever technical scale. And later, of course, all of this rolls up into what became Turrican. So on the C64, Turrican is considered one of the greatest coded pieces of game code of all time. And you could sort of see how there's elements of this leading into that. Oddly, this was later released as Daenerys. Not Daenerys Stormborn of the, but Daenerys. And that was only when enough time had passed with enough significant, and it had enough significant graphic changes to avoid the issues of Katakis, and after R-Type. And it also had less features than Katakis, so they took a load of stuff out. We're interested to play when we get to that, which I think is in few episodes' time.
Yeah, I think it's issue 48, I think it's. It's not that far away. It's in the next year's lot. So,
and also this Katakis, believe it or not, also earned Trends & Co. the honour, if you can call it that, of creating R-Type for the C64. So Activision gave them and told them, well, we want you to create R-Type for us because of what you've done with Katakis. It's so good. Make it R-Type for us, will you? Which they managed to do in 6.5 weeks. My final thought on this is it remains a flawed classic on the C64. It's great in almost every way, but it's too similar to clearly just a rip off another game, something that is a bit of a trend for Trends and the Co. And maybe this is just a little bit too buggy to be really what you'd call a super classic. It got 93% in Zap. I think is it gold medal? Is it or no? Just a Sizzler, wasn't it? And oddly, just as a final footnote, in Commodore User, this was reviewed by Julian Rignall.
It was.
And it got 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 you give it.
Yeah.
So there you go. I think a flawed classic is the way I'd leave it with that. So what do you think?
I put it's a really well designed and bloody hard shooter. I mean, it's really well designed because it's the design of R-Type, so you know what it is. But it's bloody hard. But it looks and sounds great. But I've noted it's susceptible to various bugs and issues, and that's probably the problem with it. I think the main ship is a bit too big. I think it could have been a bit smaller. I think when I went back and played Salamander, and the size of the ship was noticeably smaller, and it felt better for it. Because one of the problems I have with this is I think there's this flip between this and Salamander. Obviously, they come in quite quick succession. So we've got these two really, essentially we've got R-Type and Salamander. So let's call it what it is. The collision detection in this feels on the side of the game rather than the player. In Salamander, it felt on the side of the player rather than the game. You could get quite close to enemies and the scenery and stuff like that, and you would be fine. The collision detection was quite small on that. And this, it feels like, you breathe past it. There's a game we're playing a little bit sort of thing, which is even worse. But in this, it feels like you breathe near a rock or something like that, and you get blown up, and you're like, oh. Yeah. And it's quite tight to get through sometimes. Sometimes you'll get in the wrong position, and you're screwed. Because you can't. Yes. Because you're not fast enough or small enough to nip into the gaps and get back into where you need to be. Like if you need to get a power up for the next section coming up, and you're there, and you put yourself in the wrong position through whatever, trying to dodge one of those diagonal rocks coming from the top right.
Yep.
God, they're annoying. You've got yourself in the, and you're not small enough to nip through. So there's that. So Salamander did that element better. But on a technical level, this is pretty amazing with the amount of stuff going on. And it's got very impressive levels and designs. I mean, it's R-Type and everything but name in it. So, yeah, I mean, do I like this? I mean, I do. I prefer Salamander, though. I will come out. We're getting these big shoot-em-ups in quick succession here. So, but that's because I preferred Salamander in the arcade to R-Type. So we've got two, if Salamander on the C64 was crap, then I'd probably prefer this. But Salamander on the C64 was great. So it's a great version of an arcade that I prefer, because I prefer that type of blasting. I was never a big fan of the R-Type beam shooter thing, holding the fire to power up the beam. And I think, like you said as well, I like the multiples. When you get the three or four multiples, and they're all firing a ripple laser and everything, and it's all just firing off, and you got this massive wall of shot. That's, to me, is like, that's god tier, shoot 'em up design. Because I feel ace. And R-Type doesn't do that. It's more of I think R-Type is probably more of a technical, you've got to be better at shoot 'em ups than Salamander, where you can get away with just going, feel my wrath. But, this is what it is. You like what you like, don't you? Not to say I don't like this, though. It is a very good C64 blaster. And like we said, we're getting a lot of them, so that's good to see. But you are right. I mean, I tried 3 versions of this. I had bugs with the bosses. The first version I tried, when I did get through it, I got to about the 3rd level on my play, which wasn't too bad. I did pretty well when I got going.
Good going, that.
Yeah, so I did get through to the 3rd level, and I got to the boss, I think, on the 3rd level, actually. But the first version I tried, the boss couldn't take any damage, and then he just flew through me and off the left of the screen. So I was just stuck at the end, and it couldn't progress. So I had to crash into scenery to move it. I tried a different version. On that version, I managed to kill the boss once. Then I died on the 2nd level. And then I tried it again. And then the boss wouldn't die and wouldn't take damage. and then floated off again. So I tried a third version, and that's when I could get through to the third level. So I didn't do too bad. So, I did give it a good go. And because I wanted to I knew it was buggy, and I know it's reputedly buggy. And I wonder if it's because, it got released. So that's the thing, isn't it? You always think, well, maybe this didn't get full QA.
Well, we're not playing the original version. And I think that's part, maybe the original version was perfectly fine, and all the cracks that they've applied and all the hacking of it out, maybe that did it. Who knows?
Who knows? It's hard to say, innit? At this point in time, it is what it is. But I did find a version that I could kill the bosses and got through to the third level. That second level's really good, though, visually. There's some really cool bits in it where, all the background starts to sort of draw in as you're going through the metal tubes and stuff.
Yeah.
And on a technical level, those visuals are really, really good. So on that level, this is, next level stuff, really, for the C64.
Really is.
But yeah, it's Katakis. It's just a bit too bloody hard, and I just wish you were a bit smaller. I think if you were smaller, you could dodge a bit, and because once you get the third upgrade to the power thing at the front, it's like having I don't know, it's like Homer's car.
Yeah, it's like R-Type, isn't it? R-Type always felt like you had a lot stuck to your ship.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. You do it in other games. Things like Terra Cresta did it as well, didn't it? You got bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's what it is. Yeah, it's all right. It's good. It's a good blaster. I enjoyed my time with it. Anyway, I played it for quite a while.
And we'll put the links to the games that weren't. It's got a section on it. Nothing I haven't said in here that's in there, but the G64 version that I played is downloadable from there. So if you want
I might go grab that one as well. I can't remember which one I was playing. There was
worth doing.
I think I got them off CSDB. I think
it's worth playing, especially that particular version. But it's good.
Yeah, we'll do. There we go. Katakis. Let's move on to our next one. I'm not going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. So I'm just not. I'm not saying it. Let's move on. Because our next one is a budget atrocity, which is 17%. This is Mr. Wino.
Mr. Wino.
Yeah, right. This is another budget platformer, courtesy of Silverbird, the dubiously titled Mr. Wino. This is a conversion from the Spectrum original, because, of course, that's where they originated. All these games originate on the Spectrum, all of them. This is just, I'm fed up with these bloody games. It's coming from the Spectrum and whatever. It was developed by Probe Software, and it was ported by Michael Ager, with music by Mr. 30-Second Loop, David Whittaker. The plot, such as it is, sees Mr. Wino trapped in a nightmare, which you have to guide him from. To do this, you must collect all the bottles of wine on each screen. Some of these bottles open doors, but these just lead to more trouble. The back of the box simply has this to say, though. Wacky Wino is on the evil drink again and having a few problems. That's it. That's all it says. This is like that same. It's that same bit of text we read about from that football freaks get a freak out or whatever on that one last week with the five-a-side European soccer. It's the same thing. They just have this little sort of thing in the corner which just says these weird things. But yeah, let's all laugh at alcoholism and those wacky alcoholics. Hey, that's funny.
We
isn't
don't
it?
do that.
That's funny. Alcoholism's dead funny. That is. Sure, they're the best characters to star in a wacky flick screen platformer. Anyway, when the game loads, I'll say one thing. It is clear they have not just dumped the Spectrum code over. So,
yes.
Fair play. It does look like a C64 game. It's got some raster effects in the text and a full width scrolling message across the bottom, going in both left and right borders. It's at least good to see that we see this so often. It's like it's just the Spectrum code. It's just that.
Yeah,
just
they've definitely not done that.
They've not done that. So from this title screen, we can read some instructions which tell us to collect bottles and avoid the weird array of enemies. We can look at high scores or just play the game. The game itself is just as you would expect it to be. Each screen has a number of bottles to collect, and you must navigate your way around them by climbing ladders, running across conveyor belts, and jumping over gaps in order to collect the bottles scattered about. Various enemies roam around on patrol routes and must be avoided, else Mr. Wino will lose one of his 3 lives, and should all be lost, then it is game over. The UI at the top of the screen shows your remaining lives, your score, and a bar to represent your remaining air, which is slowly depleting. Should this run out, then it is instant game over, no matter how many lives you have left. Now, I'm not sure why you have an air mechanic.
No, I don't.
I'm guessing it was because there was one on each screen in Manic Miner, but there it made thematic sense. You were a miner underground, so you only had a limited air supply. That works. I can understand that. Yeah, each room you have a limited air supply. That works. Here, you're in a nightmare. So why would you have an air meter? Why? Why is there a bar that's constantly going down? It just makes no sense, other than to get you moving along, I guess. The problem is that after getting 4 screens in, I still hadn't found any way to get the air back up, so I just died because I ran out of air.
Yep.
It was like, what is this? I don't know. It's just rubbish. There are other issues as well. Death puts you back to the last screen instead of at the entrance to the present one. So you go back to wherever you end just before you entered the next one. That's annoying. If it does that from screen 4 to 3, then you're right underneath a door coming down and instantly be killed again.
Yep.
That's like, oh, great. If you enter screen 3 on the bottom, there's an enemy there that will kill you instantly.
It sure does.
So this is all very, very frustrating. You've only got 3 lives to play with. There's no continues, no extra lives to be found. So, this is a game of utterly trial and error of like figuring out where to go when it's boring. And the frustration factor starts to creep in, and the plodding platforming does nothing to keep your interest. As a game, this is very boring. The turning animation on your character is too slow, so trying to dodge the falling bottles on screen 2 becomes far more tricky than it needs to be. The chunkiness of everything means you feel hemmed in all the time. You don't feel like there's any space to move. The instant deaths from being transported to the previous screen are unforgivable, and the air meter makes no sense. It's dull and it's boring. And that's probably get to the dubious main character and what the game has you collecting. We don't generally preach or anything like that on the podcast or anything, but alcoholism it's not a fun thing to be laughed at or made a game of. It's just not. There's no reason for it. This could be anything. It could be Mr. Blobby, Mr. Booby, Mr. Anything, Mr. Dodgy.
Yep.
And you're just you could be collecting anything. Why they felt the need to make it a wino? Because I don't know. It could mean the main sprite has also got a big red nose, because of course he would have, because that's in it funny. They got rhinos with the big red noses.
Yep.
It's just unpleasant. We see games like this, that Chubby Gristle, Mermaid Madness. There's a real tendency in the 80s to sort of mock, mental health afflictions and things like that, and just have a laugh about them. And it's just unpleasant. It just doesn't work these days. So there's no reason for this to have the theme in it as. So I found this another in the long line of games that leave an unpleasant taste in the mouth, and that's about it, really. I'm not going to say more money about it. It's just a crap single-screen platformer with dodgy theming, and 17% was generous as far as I'm concerned, but there you go. What did you think?
Mr. Wino closely followed this up, didn't they, with Mr. Junkie? Mr. Meth was popular.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Crack Addict.
Yeah. Mr. Cocaine was a winner. No, unpleasant premise for anything, isn't it? Let's mock addiction. No, don't do that. Don't ever do that. These are real world problems for real world people. And winos is such a derogatory term for somebody that's suffering from alcoholism as well.
Yeah.
No, from the get go, you're on a bit of a back foot here. The idea of this, you can tell even though this is a C64 game and not a Spectrum port, in the sense that it looks like a C64 game. They've coded on a C64 to create it. This is just a throwback to the kind of game that was been done and dusted yonks ago. So the Manic Miner style, we've seen a few of them just recently actually pop up the woodwork, and none of them are very good, and they're all basically the same. So, I mean, there are limited good things about this. The music in it wasn't bad, apart from that annoying 10 green bottles every time you picked up a bottle.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that.
I was like, I'm going to smash this controller.
Yeah.
The in-game sounds just say weird. I thought the graphics weren't bad in the sense that they weren't Spectrum. I was expecting Spectrum graphics. So when I didn't see that, I was, likely impressed. Because they were the right size. There was, the movement was pretty fast. There was quite nice sort of rotation animation, albeit that it's on, Mr. Wino himself. But those parts, it actually looked quite nice. Just a pity that everything else around it is not very good. Like you say, I managed the first screen, died in almost instantly, repeatedly, fast on the second, and then also any game where you can drop dead from lack of air for no reason. Nah. It looked, if they'd have just thought about it, if they'd have just sat and thought, hang on a minute, we've gone to all this effort of making this code and everything else. If they hadn't have based it on, a game around alcoholism, made it something like Mr. Blobby, it wouldn't have taken much to make it Mr. Blobby, would it? I mean, change him to a pink colour and give him dots.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'd have Mr. Blobby the game.
Yeah.
And you could have added a bit more fun into this. A few puzzles on those screens, so pushing blocks or pushing things to land on other things. And you might have had something that was perhaps a lot better than what you get. Sadly, they didn't see beyond the end of what they were copying from the Spectrum in terms of its game design, which was clearly flawed in the beginning. So, yeah. It got a real pummeling in Zap. Can't say I blame them, really. Unpleasant all round and very boring at the end of the day.
Crappy nastiness. Let's move along. I'll say no more about that. Anyway, our next one. This is this is a tough one. This is over to you, Graham. Tell us all about how your arm feels after playing Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge.
The strain. The strain. Goodness me, this was a bloody workout. So Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge is from Ocean. It was coded by Robert Palmer and David Collier. Graphics were by John Palmer. Musician was Jonathan Dunn. And this is obviously based around Daley Thompson doing the decathlon. Daley Thompson, for those that don't know, was a very famous Great Britain athlete Olympic gold winner, I believe, and in the decathlon, and was quite the celebrity as well. And really, genuinely, he was on TV a lot. He was quite a big figure in terms of getting children into sport. He was just, he played the part of the celebrity Olympiad very well, and he was genuinely seemed like a very cool guy.
Yeah.
Evidently, at that time when they were looking for games about these kind of guys, these decathletes are formidable. I do nothing but stand in absolute astonishment at how good that you have to be able to compete in the things they do at that level. I mean, I think you said it in the last episode. I think Daley Thompson could do basically a 10 second.
He was a sub 11 second. Yeah, I think he represented us in the 100 meters as well at one point.
Well, I'm not sure because you get a flash of a load of stats when you first start the game.
Okay.
And I think those stats are Daley Thompson's stats. So the 100 meters is down for 10 seconds, 10.27 seconds.
Days.
Yeah, same. 10.27 seconds. A long jumper over 7 meters, shot put 16 meters.
Incredible.
It's pretty incredible stuff. So, what can you say? Amazing athlete. And this is another game based upon his exploits. This one takes an unusual twist with it, really. For reasons that I'm not sure why. This came with a whole bunch of stuff.
What, a gaggle of gimmicks?
Yeah, well, it came with a soundtrack on cassette.
Wow.
Which was called The Challenge. We'll put the YouTube link to the Challenge soundtrack, which is the same, when you load up the game and you get that kind of, now I've called it dreary. And it didn't shout fun Olympic game to me. It's kind of, it does sort of pick up a bit, but the initial sort of few notes of the music are a bit downbeat. And it's another version of that, but obviously a professionally produced one. It also came with a giant wall chart.
Yes.
Which is full of Daley Thompson facts and figures. It tells you all about decathlons and all sorts of stuff. And I'm guessing you can, fill in some of the blanks or follow along. I don't know how tied in this is to the Olympics when that was taking place. Because we talked about the Seoul Olympics, didn't we? So it must all be linked. But he would have been coming to be in the Summer Olympics, wouldn't he?
Well, it had just been. They've just been.
So he would have been in it. And I don't know how well he did, but he would have done pretty good, I imagine. I remember it being all over the TV. This game is obviously brought to you by our friends at Lucozade and Adidas, that's for sure.
Oh, God, yeah.
But that's Daley Thompson, heavily sponsored by those, which is quite interesting as well. So the game is essentially a multi-event game. Now, the events might be multi, but the control system bloody well isn't, because generally speaking, everything in this game will involve you waggling and occasionally pressing the fire button, but mostly waggling. And I can tell you, when I say waggling the joystick, I mean waggling.
You're pummeling the shit out of this thing.
It's really, really difficult. You start the game, so the game starts, you get your dreary music, as I think it is, but you get the start, and then when you start the initial game, it's a multi-load game, you'll get the dumbbell curls that you have to do. So it starts with training him in the ways of the Olympiad. So there's 3 things you need to do. You'll start off with doing dumbbell curls, where you've got to waggle the joystick like a maniac for him to gradually fill up bottles of Lucozade, I think, which then when you fill the bottle, you move to the next event. So, and you actually can store these Lucozade bottles up. It's all up to a timer, so you've got to do this in a fixed amount of time. So obviously you can either, if you don't quite get there, then you're not going to get the Lucozade bottle for that particular thing, and you go to the next one. But there's 3. There's dumbbell curls, sit-ups, leg extensions. All of them involve you waggling like crazy. There's a depiction of the thing you are doing in front of you. Pretty good graphics all through the game, actually, and incredibly good when you get to some of the events. Graphics are of a high standard. It looks like Daley Thompson. This is no Jeff Cape Strongman here. These look, and they're good graphics and quite well animated. He does have a bit of like I think we discussed it prior to the podcast. He has a bit of a fierce stare, so you do feel like he's sort of looking into your soul a bit when you. It's a bit unnerving. It's a bit. I tell you, the look it gives you, and this is no disrespect to Daley Thompson, but if you ever watched a dog having a poo, they give you that look. It's like that kind of "don't look at me" kind of look. It's like that. No, I'm not saying he's a pooing dog. I'm just saying that's the look is the same. So anyway, so you do your dumbbell curls, you get a bucket of Lucozade if you do them all. Then you sit ups, same thing, waggle, waggle, waggle. And there's a waggle meter at the top of the a bar that goes up.
And I always think he starts way too late. Start moving before earlier in the waggle.
That bar needs to be 3/4 of the way up for a consistent period for you to be able to achieve the 20 or 25 reps, I think it is, for dumbbell curls, 20 sit-ups and the leg extensions. And I can tell you by the end of those 3 things, you are done. I don't care how fit you are, unless you are Gary Brown Sauce Wilson, chronic fapper, you are not going to have the dexterity. Now, I train a lot.
CV.
It's his headline. I work out a lot. I'll train, do a lot of training, a lot of personal training and all of that. And I was knackered by the end of doing those 3 events by waggling. Because, and also not just because of the waggling that's needed to, I feared for that joystick that I have. I've got one of those Commodore Maxi joysticks, which one, it's a micro switch joystick, which is fine. But 2, so loud. The clicking was driving me insane. So short control burst for that. Anyway, I waggled my way through and got what I could get. And then you actually get to the next section where you sort of pick the events. Now, you can, on certain events, choose different trainers as well to suit the event. And that does have a bearing on how much waggling, but you don't have any information about any of that.
No, there's no clues to what trainers are what.
No, it's just there's a long column on the left of trainers, and tiny graphic icons of trainers, with no indication of what they're for, what they do, nothing. So it's a bit arbitrary, that really. Methinks it's a sponsorship section.
Yeah.
So if you happened upon the right pair of trainers, it will marginally, and I mean marginally, affect your ability to waggle. And waggle you will, because then you'll go through the events, obviously 100 meters, long jump, shot put, high jump, 400 meters, 110 meter hurdles, discus, pole vault, javelin, and the 1500 meters. All of those exciting things, all part of it. The decathlon, you're going to do a decathlon, and you're going to bloody well feel like you have. And so obviously the idea here is working your way through, and you need to try and you need to be able to be in for the medals. You need to be able to compete in this and score in the time limit and get the decent scores. And to do that, you got to waggle and waggle and waggle and waggle and waggle and waggle. And your little power bar thing goes up, and which was waggle, and I can tell you have to waggle like crazy to keep it up there. And also on certain ones that require you to jump or thing, there's like a little bar that goes into the red, and you've got to get that timing on that right as well. Do all of that, and you're going to fly, my pretty fly on the events, that the high jumps and run. 1500 meters was a living hell. I can tell you that now. The graphics in the game, all the graphics in the game are really good. The main sprite is a bit squat for a decathlete, because Daley Thompson's quite tall. But that said, it actually looks quite good. Generally, the graphics are quite good. The sort of stadium's quite good. They do little Mexican waves in the background.
That's really cool. Yeah, the animations in the back are really good.
Yeah, the actual production of the game sprites, the game graphics, there's no fault there. And even the in-game sounds are all good. It's got nice production value to this. The problem is that waggling, because you've made a really great, interesting looking sports game around one of our, at the time, one of our key sportsmen. Amazing decathlete, as I've said. Olympic gold medal winner, probably world champion. I don't know what the accolades were. Plentiful, and he worked his way through a whole ton of Lucozade, I can tell you that. So he was at the top of his game at this point. And then what you do is you were to attach that to a really silly control system. And I get it, because, all these games have been about waggling, haven't they? And in actuality, if you took a moment to play any of the really good ones, any of the epics ones, not the the recent ones, any of the Summer Games 2, play those. They are not about power waggling. In fact, they're quite the opposite. They're about just timing and execution. That is important, because I could not make my way through this game properly without it. I couldn't do it. And I felt really disappointed that I couldn't really experience what I wanted to experience. You can choose the different events and things like that, and choose the trainers at random, or okay, maybe it makes a difference. I didn't really encounter that. But what you have here is a game with loads and loads of pretty things to look at, but no affordance given to the player in any capacity whatsoever. So it renders it basically impossible. And because of that, it renders it unenjoyable. You're not going to enjoy this. All the graphics, like I said, really polished. Nice multi-res sprites. The way they've done the sprites is clever. A mix of high-res and medium-res. It really works well, that. Well, it's something that Ocean do quite a bit, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But this is a joystick destroyer deluxe. If you had a quick shot too, it wouldn't have stood a chance. It would be dead. Shortly before your arm went numb and you sort of thought you might be on a heart attack, it would be dead. It's just exhausting, this game. Even picking up the Adidas trainers and with the Lucozade boots, it doesn't help you really. What you end up with is a very nice looking version of classic track and field, but with that horrible control system that ruins it. It loads pretty nippy as well. There's a little bit of slowness, but it was bearable. But it's just impossible to enjoy a game that is this frenetic on the controls. It's too kinetic. It requires too much of you to do. And it's a bit of an out-of-date format for these sort of games. Go and play the other games that already exist in this kind of realm. See what they do and do that. Don't just assume that a game like this needs to be waggleathon, because it ruined this. It ruined what should be a great game, was ruined by that. So it got a reasonable score, didn't it, in Zap, I think?
Yeah, it got 79%.
79%. Okay, I give it that because of all the production stuff. But to get through this game, even in multiplayer, all of you are going to have really massive forearms and people are going to ask questions and you better have good answers. And they might not believe that when you say you was waggling a joystick to please an Olympiad. They may not think that that's true. Just saying. Just saying.
No, they may not.
What did you think?
Well, I mean, just to comment on the Zap, I mean, someone put in their review in the comment, I can't remember which one of the reviewers said it. It said at one point they had a 4-person round robin going just to keep up the waggle.
It'll be the 1,500 meters because it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the one in the Activision decathlon was quite hard, but this is ridiculous. Do you know this is the third Daley Thompson game?
I didn't know that. I knew there was 2.
Yeah, there was this one. Obviously, there was Daley Thompson's Decathlon, which we looked at in episode 0. But there was also one and this is weird, there was also one called Daley Thompson's Super Test. And it's weird because that came out in November 1985.
Weird.
Yeah, but didn't look like it was ever reviewed in Zap. But there is a budget re-release in issue 64, according to Lemon 64.
We'll come across
so
it.
we'll look at it then. But anyway, that's Daley Thompson's Super Test. This is Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge. I'll put it simply. It's just too bloody hard. It's just too bloody waggly hard. The waggle needed for this is ridiculous, and you know, it doesn't even look like there are long plays of this on YouTube. That tells you all you need to know. I couldn't find a long play. I could find one version of this, and they couldn't finish the first 100 meters. I was like, that's it. Nobody's done a long play of this, and that to me is always a good indicator of like, this is too ridiculous. So on my first attempt, I couldn't get past the 100 meters. I only had 2 bottles of Lucozade. I picked the wrong trainers. You had no chance. Then it tells you, oh, these are the right trainers. So your second attempt, all right, I'll give it another go. Still couldn't get it. I couldn't get a sub 14 seconds. Then it just kept going, no,
so difficult.
You failed. So I wanted to see the other things. So the one we had a trainer on it, but the trainer wasn't particularly very good. It just basically said you can have loads of Lucozade, but you still have to do the first one. So when I actually did it, I got all the Lucozades this time. And I did actually manage to make it back a 10-second 100 meters. I did, for some reason, I was super fast at that point. And then I got through it. And I got to the long jump. The long jump, I don't know if you tried it, the run-up so short.
It was weirdly short.
The run-up is you just like about 5 steps and then you're at the board. And then the angle goes up so fast that just tapping the fire button just seems to be making a brrrr. I was like, this is dreadful. What? Oh, why is this ruined? Because as you said, production around this is excellent. The graphics are really good. The sounds are really nice. It all looks great. There's great background stuff, but the control system just kills it. It's one for masochists only, this. You got to really hate your right arm or left arm, whichever one you use, I suppose. Such a shame. I was looking forward to this, but crazy hard. Crazy hard. Not much else to say about it, really. My arm was aching for ages afterwards.
Yeah, so it was unpleasant.
Break. Yeah. Worst waggler I played in regards to how much you had to waggle. Worse than combat school. And that was pretty bad.
And the clicking. The clicking.
Oh, the clicking. The clicking. For you, I imagine.
Oh, I mean, I've got. If I give you an idea, listen to this. This is the regular click on this joystick. If it's waggling, it's this.
Oh no, that's too much. Yeah. That's like I'd be worried about her in an episode of The Last of Us
for half an hour.
I'm surprised your wife didn't come in and kill you.
Yeah, she was wondering what the noise was, and it was very difficult to explain. Because if you look at someone doing that and you don't see what they're actually holding in their hand, and the technique I'd adopted at this point was to dig it into my thigh as well.
I always do that. Yeah,
it looked like I was having a massive Tom Hank.
Watery-eyed Tom Hank.
I was full. It looked like I was going full bull nostrils. Let me tell you. Took some explaining.
Anyway, let's move on. We've got one more game still to go. Let's get into that one. And that one is, to give it its full title, this is Odysseus, Trojan Warrior. So you are Odysseus, the Trojan Warrior, and you have taken your winged horse, Pegasus, on a journey through time and space in order to defeat the forces of darkness, which are, in this case, an evil sorcerer. This sorcerer, jealous of a princess in a neighbouring kingdom, and the fact that she is using her powers for good, sneaks into her palace as a wandering minstrel, kidnaps her, and forces her to use her powers for evil. What a bastard.
Deviation from the actual story a little bit. There you go.
There you go. Arriving on the scene, you take the role of a mysterious horseman riding a winged horse. Well, no, you're Odysseus on the Pegasus.
Yeah, I think people would know. Is that Odysseus up there? Don't know. He's on a winged horse. That's him. It's definitely him.
It's a bit of a giveaway. And you must navigate the 5 levels of side-scrolling action in order to put a stop to the wizard's nefarious schemes and save the princess in the process. This is from Silverbird, and was coded by Fuzz and the Highlanders. Although I did
Good name
find,
for a band.
Yeah. I did find a site though that listed the coder as Andrew Graham. He would go on to do professional ski simulator for Codemasters.
Okay.
One to look forward to, I'm sure. It's got music by Steve Barrett, which is actually particularly nice. And I don't know if you listened to that link I put in. Someone called Dr. Future has done a full-on remaster of this on YouTube, that tune.
Yeah, it's good. It's very good.
We're going to have to link to that because it's really, really good, isn't it? It's really worth a listen.
Very, very good.
Excellent stuff. So whoever Dr. Future is, well done. That's a really good version. Anyway, upon loading, we get a bit of cinematic presentation as the name Odysseus appears letter by letter on the screen. And then the music starts, which is, nice start, nice cinematic start there. There's no options at all, so we just get straight into the game. And this is not what I was expecting in the slightest, I have to say. We're greeted with a left-to-right snowy scrolling level. It's like, wait, what, eh?
Random.
And our rather large and well-animated hero riding his flying horse above it. Like, okay, this isn't what I was expecting. Controls a standard 8-way movement, fire to shoot. You've got the UI at the bottom, which again, I don't think really fits the theme of the game. It looks all metallic and futuristic. It's odd. It's an odd mix, this game.
Yes, isn't it?
The UI contains your score, your number of lives, and there are 4 bars with icons at the end of them. And I'll come back to what they are in a moment. So essentially, this is a salamander-style shooter, but it does have some new mechanics up its sleeve in the way you get your power-ups. So as you progress through the level, enemies come at you in waves, and as you shoot them, depending on the enemy, each one you kill fills up one of the 4 bars in the UI at the bottom. So in the first level, different enemies fill up the top left bar, which is speed up, and the bottom left bar, which is multiples. Okay, should you fill the bar, the corresponding power-up will then appear in the level for you to collect. So like a pod appears, and you can grab it. It'll say 1, 2, 3, or 4 on it, corresponding to the power-up. 1 is speed up, 2 is multiples. I'll get to 3 or 4 in a minute. So once you collect that, all of the icons at the end of the bars, they start as black. But collecting 1 changes its color. So speed ups have sort of 3 levels, or 4 levels, I guess, base level, sort of thing, black. But it goes from black to yellow. Shoot another load of them, you fill it up, you get another one, you go to red, and then it goes from black to red to yellow to white, where it's maxed out. So you've got 4 levels of speed up. Multiples go from black to yellow to white because you can only have two multiples in this. So unlike 3 in Salamander, you get 2 in this, but they do the same thing. They track you around, the little sort of glowy stars, and they track you around. They shoot whatever you're shooting, so that's quite handy. If you make it to the second level, then enemies will start to fill up the top right bar and the bottom right bar as well. And this is where it gets really weird. The top right bar enables a bouncing, grinning green ball like a frog beneath you, which kills stuff on the ground. It's just bouncing around and shooting stuff, and anything you fly into, it's kind of weird. It just stays level with you, so it moves around underneath you, bouncing up and down. Really odd. I've no idea what the hell that is. And if you get the last one, so the bottom right one, you fill that up, it gives you lasers. There's only 1 level of that, but it gives you full-on laser power. So if you've got 2 multiples, decent speed up, the green bouncing ball beneath you, and lasers, you're quite a wall of death for anything oncoming, which is pretty good. For a budget shooter, it's not too bad. So it's an interesting power-up mechanic, good music, decent graphics. The backgrounds, they're snowy and they're weird, but they're actually quite well drawn. They're decent enough. Everything's quite good. So what could go wrong? This is all pretty good. What score did it got? It got 74%, but surely maybe we would be on for a sizzler here, because this is actually pretty good for a budget blaster. However, when you complete a level, you have to fly down a left to right scrolling tube. It's quite narrow, it moves quite fast, and it has dead ends. Should you clip the scenery, even just the tip of your wing, which can animate upwards at the worst possible time, then you die. You don't lose a life, but you're sent back to do the previous level all over again. And I don't know what they were thinking with that. I just don't know. The levels get quite hard as you progress. I made it quite far, but I had to redo levels far more often than I actually wanted to, and that's a real ball ache in this. It's, like I said, it's already very hard in the later levels, so so there's plenty of challenge here. Even when you get all the power-ups and everything, you still got to die, because it's hard. There's loads of enemies and there's loads of stuff coming at you. But completing the level, should feel like thank God I've got through that. But having to do a really fast sort of scrolly sort of maze thingy, and then clip at any point, just clip it, and it just mean like the hoof of the horse just clips it or anything like that. It goes blow up, and then you're back to the start of that previous level. You've got to go through everything again, and you're like, really? I mean, it just turns what could have been a great budget blaster. It just stops it in its track. It's really annoying. There are some other issues as well. There's some flickering bullets, so there's a lot going on. There's quite a lot moving on screen. So there's there's some flickering of bullets, and sometimes they disappear. There's a couple couple of wizards that appear right near the beginning that you can't get down to shoot, so you just have to avoid them. I don't know what they're there for. They don't really offer any hazard or anything. It's just, what's the point of them? Bit odd, really, because you can't get down enough low growth to the ground. It's just annoying. But what else is there? Two enemies you can't shoot, annoying, and losing all your power-ups on death. So that's annoying as well. It's another one of those, and you have to then build them all. You keep any progress you've made in the bar, but you lose anything, all of them, all the way down to 0. But, you can get past this. And clipping the tunnel wall and having to do everything all over again is just unforgivable as far as I'm concerned. I thought everything was here to be a real budget blaster, really good budget. This is way better than I was expecting. And then that bit in the tunnel just kept happening. I was like, oh, for God's sake. The blasting's fast. You can move quite fast. The power-ups, the way you get them is interesting. I liked all that. The music's good. But the repetitive nature just made me turn away from it quicker than I wanted to. I made it to the second level once, and I was fully powered up. It was really reminiscent of Salamander in the blasting. The way that they had this wall of fire and stuff going at you, and it was nice. Like this bits you fly over volcanoes that are spewing rocks out, and you have to blast them and get past that. There's loads of interesting sort of enemies and stuff, and weird sort of things going on, and I did quite enjoy it. But in the tunnels, it's the opposite. Like in this, you can fly past this scenery, so there's no clipping of the scenery. Everything's cool. You fly through it and everything, and that's all nice. But it's just, why did they do that in the tunnels? You think you're through. And the animation, I've so many times, the animation of the wing, which going up and sort of went up a bit higher than where I was at the time, clipped it. And then I was dead. And it's like, oh, just the wing. Are you kidding me? It's so frustrating and so unnecessary. The later levels, I just watched the YouTube, check them out, are really bloody hard. So there's no need for this mechanic to be included. If you don't make it through the tunnel, you don't get a bonus, but you carry on. That's all it needed to do. I think there's plenty, it could reward the player with score. Don't punish them by making them have to do the previous level again. Simple as that. Give them an extra power up or something. I don't know, whatever. I don't know. It's just annoying. Don't make the player repeat what they've just done. It's such a shame. I was enjoying this. I was really enjoying it until I had to do the first level for the fourth time because I clipped to my hoof or clipped to wing or whatever. Such a shame. It was. There's enough game here. Light Force has 4 levels. No one cared that there's only 4 levels. They're not that hard. This has 5 levels and they're bloody hard, so it's going to be hard to get through. And it's £2. Such a shame. I really like this, but then they did that. And then I didn't like it, so don't know what else to say about it, really. What did you think?
It was a shooty horse game. Have we had a shooty horse game?
I don't think we have. I don't know.
Is Joust technically a shooty horse game?
No, because you're on an ostrich.
Well, it's definitely not a shooty horse game, no.
And there was Eggy Joust, remember?
Eggy Joust, yeah. It's a shooty horse game. Nice derivation of the old shoot 'em up, this. Because we're inundated with them all now, aren't we? Everyone's having a go.
Everyone.
Less horse-related, flying horse-related ones, though. So that's always interesting. Very nicely animated Pegasus, wasn't it? Very elaborately animated.
Yeah.
Possibly a little bit too big, actually, that.
Yeah, it is, because then it makes the tunnels too bloody hard.
And they've borrowed the animation from Clash of the Titans as well. They've just obviously taken it off the screen and drawn around it on tracing paper. But we'll let that go. Plays in a sort of shooty way, all good, up until you get to those tunnels. And then it's just ruined. So everything was, up to that point, good. But the tunnel sections are such a pain that it almost reverse engineers itself. And you're like, oh, yeah. Too challenging because of that. But it is, for £2, it's passable. You're going to enjoy the shooty bits. You might persevere with it, I don't know. But for £2, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I quite like the opening titles. They're all suitable, nice colours, graphics are all good, reasonable. The UI, okay. Everything's all okay, but the tunnels, they're not okay. They ruin it. What a shame. It's another game ruined by something stupid. So I enjoyed what I played, but I did not enjoy the tunnel sections. Trying to navigate a flying horse through a tunnel, who knew that would be difficult?
Especially when there's a dead end, one of those midway point when it's like you get the bit in the middle, you can go up or down, be above, below it. If you go up, don't go up. Never go up. It's a tip for this bit. If you get to that bit, don't go up because it's a dead end.
Well, it just occurred to me that, it's meant to be this super powerful sort of flying magical horse. It just seems, I don't know. Look at my horse. My horse is amazing. No, it's not. It's not amazing.
It's not amazing.
Anyway, no, good game up to that point. But other than that, no, Tragic Warrior.
Anyway, there you go. That's it. That's your games for this first half. We're going to go take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be looking at lots of music from October 1988. So, keep on listening. We'll be back in a bit.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Growing up in the 80s is a chore for Sarah, who feels misunderstood by her parents and badgered by Reese, her bothersome brother who incessantly prattles on about his treasured computer games. When Reese tells her one of the games tried to pull him inside the computer, she laughs off his fanciful fib. She waggles the joystick to disprove his fairy tale and is pulled into the computer. Now trapped in games she'd never had any interest in playing, how can she possibly beat them? With the help of feisty Nell, another trapped player, can Sarah find her way back home, or is it game over? An evil madman, a hostile planet, bloodthirsty robots, a never-ending throng of karate experts, and relentless digital soldiers will do their best to ensure Sarah never escapes. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, find out if there's a way out of the beige bread bin of betrayal for Sarah in Escape from the Commodore 64.
And we're back, and we've got music, both singles and albums, because this is only there's only 17 games this month, so we've got to fit it all in to 2 episodes. So let's get going. We've got loads of albums and singles to get through. First off, our number 1 singles for October 1988. For 1 week, the first week is Desire by U2.
I don't desire that song. Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Awful droning cacophony.
Yeah, I don't like this song.
That's what I imagine falling into a black hole sounds like.
Not fan then.
No, I don't. I like U2, but not that. Not on some U2, but not that one.
No, I don't like this. So it's got a bloody harmonica as well, hasn't it?
Yes, it does. No.
Replacing that for the next 2 weeks is One Moment in Time by Whitney Houston.
Do you know, Whitney Houston had one of the biggest lung capacities by volume. The normal average person has an average lung capacity of 6 litres. Whitney Houston was nearer 14.
Is that true?
What is truth?
14 litres, that's loads.
It meant special precautions were needed if she intended to blow candles out on a birthday cake.
I can imagine.
And if her and Tony Hadley are not allowed to be in the same space.
Same state, same country.
No.
Do you think they've got like Whitney's Law? Well, not anymore, I suppose.
No, well, they did used to have, yeah.
Replacing that, finally, for the last 2 weeks is How About You, How About You, How About You, How About You. It's Orinoco Flow by Enya.
I don't like Enya.
No.
I don't like it. The lyrics for this, you almost have to say them in stupid Orinoco Flow language. Yeah, we can steer, we can near. We can steer, we can near with Rob Dickens at the wheel. We can sigh, say goodbye. I don't know. Ross on his dependency. We can sail, we can... Shut up. Shut up, Enya, you droning wasp.
Who knows what this is on about? But, you know, she made a career of it, didn't she?
Yes,
it's very
singing
odd.
basically nothing understandable, which is fine. You know, you can do that if you want. Not bad going, really, if you can make a living out of that. Apparently, she was a very, very accomplished music producer, just as an aside, and principally did all the vocal mixing, synth, electronic instrument recording, and production for all of her albums. So she's a bit of a solo player in that respect, I think. But
yeah, that's good.
But I only like 2 Enya songs. Boudica, I guess is how you say it nowadays. Boadicea in old language when we were at school. And Exile. And as you've actually rightly pointed out, both of them are just, clanads.
Knock off
really.
clanad.
But yeah, she
utterly
is. She is totally that.
Yeah. I listened to the pair that you linked to there, and I was like, it just sounds like clanad.
Well, I like them for the films they're in. Boudica is in the film Sleepwalkers, which is a crap Stephen King adaptation.
Oh, is it really? Is it in that?
Yeah, for reasons that can't be explained. Yeah.
The one with the cats and the terrible CG.
Yeah, vampires, yeah, essentially. Rubbish it is.
Oh, awful.
And Exile is from LA Story, which is the bit at the end when all the magic happens in the LA Story.
Oh, yes. That's good, that bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's good.
Not on account of a stupid droning, though, but those are good songs to put in those moments.
Is that where the traffic signal starts talking to him?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, that bit. All right, number 1 albums for the first week, New Jersey by Bon Jovi.
Right.
Yeah, we spoke about this, didn't we?
We did. Cracking album, yeah.
Good album, yeah. Replacing that for 1 week was Flying Colours by Krista Berg.
Christy Berger's back.
Crispy Berger, he's back.
He's back.
With his ninth.
Nine.
They won't stop him. Someone should have said 9.
Can't be
9,
stopped.
Chris.
No, Crispy Berger. Get out of here. Get out of here, Crispy.
Yeah. Replacing Mr. Crispy for 1 week was Rattle and Hum by U2.
Yeah, it's the live one, isn't it? Massively. Is it the film as well? Yeah.
Yes, it was. This is when this is the crossover album minutes are going into, a much bigger deal than what they were with the Joshua Tree and stuff, where they started to disappear at their own arse.
Well, I was going to say, he'd successfully figured out how to anally insert his own head And from that moment forth, they had Phil Genoux in to direct this as well, which is, I forgot that he did that on a big list of stuff.
Yeah, I look. He didn't really do much in the way of films Genoux. I mean, obviously he did Mr. Brown Sauce's favourites, 3 O'Clock High and State of Grace.
Did, yeah.
Which are very good films. But he did loads of videos for YouTube. But he also did Keep the Faith by Bon Jovi.
Hey, keep the faith. Hey, yeah, he did.
He did that. Still kicking all that off for the last 2 weeks of the month was Money for Nothing by Dire Straits.
It's a greatest hits album.
I did wonder, because I was thinking, hang on a minute, Money for Nothing is ages old.
Yes, this features highlights from the band's first 5 albums. And technically, I suppose, if people were paying actual money for this, then they really were paying money for nothing, because there's nothing new on it.
That's true. Very true. Good observation. I like that.
It's the truth.
Yeah, man speaks truth. Right, let's get into our singles. 2nd of October, in at number 41 was Killing Jar, or just Killing Jar, sorry, by Susie and the Banshees.
I don't get what audience they're aiming at with this recent Susie stuff. We said it before, but this one in particular.
It's actually an okay tune. I didn't actually mind the song.
Yeah, same.
But you're right in that it's not goth or punk. It's much more poppy. It's much more lighter.
No goth is going to crumble for this. No punk is going to pogo.
No, they're not. They're really not.
No spitting on. No one's going to spit on her for that.
No, and that's probably a good thing. Number 52 is Get Real by Paul Rutherford.
Oh, God's sake.
Quick question. Is this Paul Rutherford from Frankie Goes to Hollywood?
That is a very good question. It probably is. I didn't look into that.
Because obviously Frankie Goes to Hollywood have imploded by this point.
Yes,
so.
It might be easy. It could easily be. There was a massive sort of hat house scene, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And that one in particular, just as soon as you hear it, you know it. You're like, oh, I've heard it. It got so much airplay. There's a nice underlying techno vibe to it, which means that, and I'm not sure the link I had wasn't a remix, but the speech on that one just ruins it anyway. Techno.
Yeah.
Love techno. But it's not as good as that. It's like a speak and spell nightmare.
It really is, yeah. It's like Big Mouth.
You'd have to do a little bit of digging to see if it's Mr. Rutherford from Frankie.
I'm pretty sure it probably will be.
Probably must be, I guess.
I reckon. Number 59 is Burst by the Darling Buds. I really like this. I went and listened to quite a few of their tracks, actually. I've never heard of them before. But as you've rightly pointed out, it's somewhere in the middle of Primitives and Go-Go's.
Yeah, Blondie. They were apparently the big Blondie clone.
Oh, right, okay. Blondie, Primitives, Go-Go's. But it's got catchy sort of poppy, fast guitar-y, hooky thing. I was all right with this. Good chorus.
Yeah, they released 3 albums. The final album was called Erotica. They released that a few weeks before Madonna's album called the same name. Not genuinely a good idea to do that. But it was okay, wasn't it? It wasn't terrible. It was very, very, like you said, very Primitives and Go-Go's and all that.
Yeah, very much so. Nice chorus, though.
Yeah, it was all right. It was good. Yeah.
In at number 68 is Mr. Lee by Diana Ross.
I was let down by this song.
Why?
Not literally. I wasn't like deflated by it or anything. My tyres went flat listening to
it. Comedy moment.
Because I realised that this was not, as far as I know, a serenade to Bruce Lee, but instead some kind of soft style 50s throwback rock and roll. Sounded a lot like Lollipop by the Codettes as well in places. So
yes, it did. I thought that as well. Listen to it. In at number 99, though, is Abandon by Dare. I knew this would be a good one.
The hair in this is it's extraordinary. It's a new kind of hairdo as well. It's the Rambo do.
Ramdo.
It's the Ramdo.
The Ramdo.
I mean, there's a lot of hair in this. There's a lot of wire and mesh fences in it.
God didn't make the Ramdo. His hairdresser did. I'm his hairdresser.
He'll cut hair the thickness of a billy goat's. This is clearly a song that's missing from its soundtrack because it sounded like something that should have been on a Rocky or a Van Damme movie. Probably is, actually. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, probably.
It's not bad, though, is it?
No, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. You want a load of Ramdos? Just get a load of hairnets first.
There is enormous Ramdo in that. The Ramdo is strong with that one.
It really is.
So, yeah, lots of Ram. But it's a good song all the same.
It is a good song, and it's not very often that you see a lead rock singer with a guitar.
You don't, and we've got 2 lead people with 2 guitars in this particular. I mean, you wait all the time for a guitar, then none come in, and then 2 come at once. And
there was also so much denim. Not the only rock song we'll see with so much denim, but this is the first of that.
I get the feeling that the hair metal, this isn't hair metal, this is Rambo metal, and it's taking denim back. We're taking denim back.
It's ours.
Oh, no.
You can't have it.
It's making a comeback.
9th of October. In at number 20s, we call it Acid.
Oh, this.
Featuring Gary Heisman, which is D-Mob featuring Gary Heisman.
This frigging song.
I got 5 seconds in. As soon as he started, I turned it off. I was like, done. I'm done.
It's the acid classic, isn't it? That was the one that whenever Acid House, which by this point was a news item for all of the illegal acid parties and all the drug taking that was apparently going on at those parties, which probably was true, but people were having a genuinely good time as far as I could see. But this is the one that goes acid, and it was played loads on the Hitman and Her, and I mean loads.
Yes.
Just you cannot escape it. This one is associated with UK acid house parties. Anyway, that's how it came about. That's the and we're now going to get touched with a whole lot more of that.
Oh yeah, that's true. In at number 21 is Harvest for the World by the Christians. Not a fan.
No, well, it's message heavy, isn't it? Very heavy. The video is message heavy. Is it wrong that watching that video made me really want a cheese sandwich?
I don't know. Why did you want a cheese sandwich?
Because it's all about the Harvest for the World and all this. And then there was this big table full of cheese in the video, and I thought, just eat a cheese sandwich. I feel like I may have missed all the other visual cues about that song.
The fat cats and everything, having everything, and all you wanted was, I could do with some of that. Which I suppose, but you couldn't have it though. So maybe the message got to you.
Well, you take from these things what you want, and I was wanting a sandwich after that. So
I took some cheddar. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. And at number 29 is Orinoco Flow.
Yeah, as above, as we've said. Abba-dee, abba-doo, abba-habba-ha. What was that, Enya? You want a McDonald's? We can't understand a word you say. Speak properly.
Oh, I want a McFerrin.
You're not having one.
Now get back on your producing stuff.
Orinoco Flow.
Start writing gibberish again.
Yeah.
In at number 41, speaking of more gibberish, Real Gone Kid by Deacon Blue.
I hate this song. I really, really, really hate it.
It was their big single, though, wasn't it? It was the one that
it's the big one. Because it's got that beginning. Da, 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 woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
And then it follows up with the stupid lyric. I can't say it. You're going to have to say it because I can't. It makes me angry.
I'll do what I should have did.
I can't. It pisses me off even thinking about it.
I mean, I'm used to the grammar Nazi, but yeah, I'll do what I should have did. It's like...
You're just making it rhyme.
You wanted to rhyme with kid? You didn't have to. It doesn't have to rhyme.
I do what I should have did.
I do what I should have done.
Yeah. And there's loads of words that rhyme with done. Bun.
Real Gone Bun.
It works better than do what I should have did.
You'd have to change the name of the title.
That's fine.
Real Gone One. Real Gone Gun.
I'll go for sense and grammar over and stupidity.
True. I'm a real gone bun.
I do what I should have fun doesn't make much sense either, but we'll just let it go. Let it go.
We'll let it go. And at number 53, Staying Together by Debbie Gibson. Didn't like this.
No, the shoulder pads are reaching critical mass in that video. They're just ridiculous.
She's almost as wide as she's tall.
She is. Actually, and
she's like a squish. She's starting to get to like what's his face out of Talking Heads, out that video, the classic suit. It's starting to look like that.
Yeah, it is exactly that. Yeah.
No, what's his name? Bobby Byrne. I can't remember the lead singer name out of Talking Heads.
It's not Bobby Burns, I'm pretty sure.
It's not Bobby Burns. It should be, but
he sounds like a football player for Tottenham or something. Bobby Burns
in the 1960s. Bobby Burns got it down the left wing. Anyway, yeah, the thing with this video as well, lots of kooky playing to the camera and antics.
Oh yeah, hate that.
I really don't like that. Clearly the fans would be loving it. Go, oh, Debbie, you're so funny.
Debbie, you're so funny, and your fashion sense is just amazing. I love the hat you're wearing, those oversized hats that you wear, those Botus hats. It's almost like you've taken it from the cues from the goth scene, but made the hats bigger.
What, instead of the tiny hat?
Yeah, she's got a big hat.
Got big hats, yeah. She's anti-goth.
She is.
Completely different. Number 57, How Many Tears Can You Hide? Which sounds a bit creepy, by Shakin' Stevens.
It is creepy, because the whole thing is creepy.
It's very creepy.
Awful. Oh, so bad, that song. So bad.
Yeah. Yeah, your backdrop looks like the ones they use for the photos at a graduation ceremony. It's such a spot-on observation because it really does.
It's exactly that.
There's somebody behind the camera going, "Have you graduated? Can you go off? Can you get off?"
There's a moment at the beginning of that when it's like someone shouts the word "egg" from behind him because he just sort of looks over his shoulder for a minute. And I'm very tempted to do that. I'm going to take the audio off that track and just fire a few random words in there and it'll just be egg. And he's like, "Hey, what?"
Yeah.
It's a stupid thing. And it's a crap song as well, really.
It's
crap.
Terrible.
I'm sure that Shakin' Stevens hadn't ironed his shirt properly anyway, either.
He didn't iron. Well, he did, but he was so shaky, it just creased.
Well, exactly, yeah. He's just trying to shake the creases out and it won't work, I can tell you. No, you can't. Get some starch spray or something and, get
And then
on with it.
And then how many tears can you hide? Hey, how many?
And if you can't operate the iron properly, get an adult to help you.
This isn't like Blue Peter.
It is for him.
True.
You're not even graduating now. Get off. Get out.
Get out. You haven't even got a certificate.
You've got a BA in being a dickhead. Get out.
Number 63, Night of the Living Baseheads by Public Enemy.
Yeah, sort of set the benchmark. Was on heavy repeated play at Wilson's Brown Sauce Emporium. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I know it was.
It's big on this one. He was. It was a very angry track as well. But they're angry guys and they have a lot to say. So
it's a very busy track, isn't it? I was listening to it. There's lots going on in this track. It's lots of samples and like
that's how they did it though. Yeah, it is. But that's the Public Enemy way. It's good stuff, Yeah. If you like that kind of thing.
And completely differently, at number 71, She Makes My Day by Robert Palmer.
Chalk, say hello to cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this song, honking guff.
But you know what this song is, don't you?
No.
The bastard pigeon song.
Pigeon song.
Do you remember all those episodes ago when I had that pigeon haunting me?
Oh, yes, it is. You said it was this song, didn't it? It's that song.
The pigeon was singing it in me. And I was like, when I put this on, I was like, it's that pigeon.
It's the pigeon song. They want their money, Robert. They want their money.
Pigeons haunted me for it.
They will, because they know they never got their royalties from it.
They probably didn't, but damn pigeons. They were singing at me for weeks. Look, I've moved house.
They'll follow you.
They will. I'm expecting them outside at any point. 16th of October, in at number 11 is Je ne sais pas pourquoi, Kylie Minogue.
Stockacre Woman plus Kylie equals hit. Yeah.
Forgettable blandness.
Totally, yeah, boring.
Number 32 is I'll House You.
Say what?
I'll House You.
Say what?
House music all night long. Say what? House music all night long.
By Richie Rich meets the Jungle Brothers.
Track. So many remixes of this. As soon as you hear that, can you feel it? All the samples are in this one. Girl, I'll house you. Say what, girl? Oh, God, no.
No.
Gary.
No.
It just reminds me of Gary, that track, because he was playing a lot of this stuff at this time.
He was massively into it, wasn't he? Number 36, Twist in My Sobriety by Tanita Tikaram.
Yeah, I don't like Tanita Tikaram particularly. This is a rip-off of Abracadabra by Steve Miller Band. I
don't agree. I don't agree with that.
It is. It sounds principally the same. It's slowed down, but the same.
Yeah, I think this is a great track. I really like this song. Yeah, you put the synth lines, this remind me of something from Twin Peaks. I could see that.
Yeah, and it's got conspicuous use of a clarinet in there. Or it might be an oboe, actually. Clarinet or oboe, one or two.
One or two, but it does work. In at number 44 is Nothing at All.
Nothing
Looks like
at all.
I'm wearing Nothing at All.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at All by Heart.
Yeah, it's just forgettable Heart guff. Really.
It was so boring, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really boring.
Dullness. Yep.
Nothing to it. I'd rather look at Flance's arse.
Literally nothing at all. Very dull.
Yeah. Number 45 is The Party by Craze.
And now, welcome the Plink Plonk House Piano.
Blink, blink,
blink, blink, blink, blink. Blink, 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 blink. It's got that standard house rhythm to this as well that goes with those plink, plink house pianos. Da-dink, 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 da-dink. No. I dig house stuff, but I never did like the plink, plonk piano.
No. Number 48 is 1, 2, 3 by Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's that one, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, brought to you by Sesame Street.
1, 2, 3. Rock your body.
It would be, hi, Count. I'm a Gloria Estefan. I'm drinking your blood now.
How many fans do we have here? 1 fan, 2 fans.
God, we've watched a lot of that.
Yeah, we did. 23rd of October, in at number 11 is Stand Up For Your Love Rights by Yaz.
Not a fan of this one. It's such a letdown, really.
It is. I've noted though in the video she's got a particular dance that she does, hasn't she?
She does.
She's the Yaz dance. She's following in the footsteps of the Andy Bell Bend and the Jimmy Somerville Giddy Bop.
It is. It's the Yaz dance.
It's the Yaz dance. I don't know what else to call it. The Yaz. I was thinking of the Yaz jazz up or something, but she's kind of that step to the side, She does that
Yaz jazz hands.
Yeah, and it's also she does that thing with her shoulders. She does a lot of shoulder
Shrugging.
shrugs.
Yeah, she is a shoulder shrugger, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see that there's, she's keeping that kind of signature dance theme alive when we've not seen a lot of it recently from the Andy Bell Bend and the
Yes,
Jimmy Somerville
absolutely
Giddy
true.
Bop.
Very giddy lady, very giddy song, just not particularly memorable. It's just a bit of a forgetful because the previous one was very good, so let down.
Yeah, true. In at number 19 is Kiss featuring Tom Jones by Out of Noise featuring Tom Jones.
It's quite good, this, in its own stupid way.
I knew a lot of people who really, really hated this. Obviously, it's a Prince song, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Prince version is very good as well.
And they hated this, whereas I was like, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's just, I don't quite know how these things come to be. I guess Prince sits there back and just watches the money roll in.
Probably. But I did question, like, what number Renaissance was this for Tom Jones?
Oh, goodness me, because he's bouncing back every year, isn't he?
He's always bouncing back with something. Because there would be I know there was a big Tom Jones thingy in the mid-90s, wasn't there, when he sort of he partnered up with loads of indie bands.
Yeah, he
like
sang with
Stereophonics and stuff.
Catatonia, didn't he?
Yeah, and Stereophonics, and not just Welsh bands, but loads of other bands as well. But there was loads of that. And this is obviously 1988, so he never stops. And then he came back for, what was that? He was on that game show, wasn't he? The Voice. Was it The Voice?
Can't keep a good Tom Jones down, can you?
You cannot.
Now, his success is very, very interesting, but it's not unusual. Hey. By the way, the out noise is Trevor Horn, isn't he, producing in the background?
It is, yes.
Always funky, that. Always funky.
Yeah. And number 31 is Welcome to the Jungle, double A side with Night Train. Don't know why you feel the need to do this as a double A side.
No,
Welcome
I don't think Night Train's not a great track for them, but
not really. Welcome to the Jungle is a Stone Cold classic, so it's the best Guns N' well, maybe not the best, but it's my favourite off that album.
Yeah, it's up there with Paradise City for me, those two tracks. I think if someone said to me, name me two Guns N' Roses tracks, those would be the ones I'd jump for.
Oh, really? Nothing off Use Your Illusion 1 or 2?
Yeah. I much prefer. I really like Paradise City as a track by them. It's such a great Guns N' Roses track.
It's got the longest outro to ever any song ever. I think, apart from Lynyrd Skynyrd.
True.
Freebird, which has must be the longest outro to any song ever. Probably not, but it feels like it. And at number 34 is Take a Look, Rather Not by Level 42.
Ooh, what is it all for?
It's
too funky for its own good. I didn't like its funky. It was too funky, too much funkiness. And his hair's not explainable, and his face is made of plastic.
And you see there's a picture of him there.
Yes, yeah, that's that bloody guy again, isn't it?
It's the alien bounty hunter from X-Files.
He's more plastic than that in the video, isn't he? But it is him.
It's definitely him, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Same fashion sense as well. Lots of, browns and creams and whites.
If you were going to be an alien bounty hunter, would you wear that jumper and that brown leather jacket and with a white high-necked T-shirt underneath?
Sensing the aliens have not been investigating the colours of fashion. They've just gone for beiges and browns. Blend in, you say. Blend in brown.
I suppose brown does blend in.
Does.
Number 43 is Let's Stick Together, 88, by Brian Ferry.
Yeah, re-release, I'm guessing for a soundtrack or something, maybe, is it?
Probably. The way his moustache was revealed troubled me in this in ways I cannot describe.
That bloody moustache.
Because he's doing that with the harmonica in it at first, and then he kind of lowers it slowly, and then that moustache appears, and it's like,
it looks like the ones that you get in cheap crackers, Christmas crackers as well.
So, he's probably just not cleaned the harmonica.
Ew. He's got a dirty harmonica, and that's a horrible. That's a euphemism I don't even want to think about.
That's probably what it is.
Don't get it, Brian Ferry. He's got a dirty harmonica. Oh, he has. He has, yeah. That's got to be a thing. That's where a musician sticks someone's harmonica up there, down their ass crack, tries to blow down it, and then someone uses it. They see guys giving him a dirty harmonica.
Must be.
It's like a stink palm. It's the same sort of idea.
Yep. It's all unpleasant, but yeah, Brian's Ferries with his dirty harmonica.
Ew.
Number 65 is Handled with Care by the Travelling Wilburys.
Yeah, interesting. Supergroup, weren't they, of their time? Bob Dylan, George Harrison, Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison and Tom Petty. Massive names for that band.
I mean, yeah, it's a big supergroup, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I quite like that song. I don't like a lot of the Travelling Wilburys stuff. I quite like that song. It's inoffensive. It's all right.
But I thought it's boring MOR dullness for me.
It's all right. It's all right. Catchy enough, I suppose. It's not too bad. I like George Harrison, though. I do like a lot of George Harrison stuff. So
Number 74, You Make Me Work by Cameo. Good codpiece action in this again.
Solid codpiece action.
I mean, it's the thing you come for a Cameo video for, isn't it? You don't come for the tune, you come for the codpiece action.
Well, no, because you're just going to hear Word Up again.
That is true, actually. Yeah,
but yeah,
Word Up.
codpiece is very elaborate. And in order for someone to embrace the codpiece in that way, that takes a bit of skill. That's a life skill.
Yeah, it's a brave choice in 1988 to go for the codpiece.
Because even in the 1800s they were phasing them out in Victorian 1800s, and that tells you everything you need to know about the codpiece.
It does, yeah. It's the thing of the past. But he's trying to bring it back
in his own way.
It don't really work, but well done, cameo. 30th of October, in at number 30, He Ain't No Competition by Brother Beyond.
Yes, more Stock Aitken and Waterman god awfulness, isn't it? And he's jiggly and wiggly in that continually, isn't he? He's like he's constantly on the move. He
can't stand still.
He can't. They've either put ants down his pants or they've given him a serious dose or something.
Yeah.
And there's very conspicuous use of sitar in that song, which is troubling
there
indeed.
And please help those affected with low polyism, because he's back.
It's the lowest poly I've ever seen. It's just texture on a round thing. They've not even bump mapped him, have they? It's featureless.
It's bevel-less.
As somebody once said, he's all face and no features.
At number 31, I Wish You Heaven by Prince.
Oh, this is very forgettable. And you can sort of see, because I know there's the whole brouhaha around Prince and the record label getting fed up because he was not quite doing what they wanted, and they wanted more of this stuff, and he was doing all of this. This is an example of why they were getting frustrated.
Yeah, it's just noise without tune.
It's dreary, even for Prince, that.
Yeah,
and it's
really
just,
bad.
You can sort of see all the record execs going, why can't you just do another, Purple Rain album? Because that was really, everyone like that.
And then he says, no, I want this. What are you doing, Prince?
Yeah,
what I want.
I'm not sure. He was doing whatever the hell he liked at this point.
Yeah. Number 52 is Revolutions by Yummy Yell Ya.
Revolution.
Yummy Yell Ya. I didn't like this.
No, it's very much Marmite Revolutions.
More noise
as
without a
album.
tune, as far as I could make out.
You either like Revolutions as the album Revolutions, or you don't. I actually do. We'll come to that later, but it always makes me laugh because if there's the substitutions of words you can put into this. So it's like TV, no TV, egg, no egg. You can go hog wild with that. You can have loads of fun with
dog, egg,
dog, egg, no egg, dog, egg. It's just. It's not the best Jean-Michel Jarre, Yummy Yell Ya album by a long way. In fact, it's far from it. No, it's not even in this. It pales into. You can't compare this with the Equinoxes or the Magnetic Fields or anything like that.
You can.
But there's a couple of interesting tracks on it which we'll come to later.
And it's still better than Waiting for Cousteau.
It is better than that, and this is the last great because this is the one that he performed. All these other stuff as well, but it was Revolutions principally that drove the London Docklands concert, which must be coming up if it hasn't happened already.
Must have.
So
number 59 is Fallen Angel by Poison.
Oh, this one. Lots of hair, wasn't there?
Lots of hair and really soft rock, innit? It's really just bland.
Yeah, bland rock.
People worried about these people.
What a weird video as well, where it starts with her just having dinner and it's like, I want to go to Los Angeles or California.
Yeah.
And then she goes there and then she's just getting exploited by that guy that always plays evil people in things.
Yep.
He's always a baddie in everything.
But the song is light metal.
Yeah, it's totally nutty. It's like completely nutty twee.
Yeah. And then coming completely other end of metal is sort of thing. Number 98, I Want Out by Halloween. Which is a great song. Really, I hadn't listened to it actually, so when I listened to it tonight, I all just came back. I was like, "What a great tune this is!"
It is. It's one of their greatest songs.
Some cracking bits of guitar in that. Just
it's brilliant.
And his vocals are amazing in it as well.
Yes.
Really, really good. The video's not great.
No, it's all kinds of wrong. And I would never seen the video before, interestingly enough. A lot of these Halloween videos are surfacing on YouTube now.
Right.
And so a lot of them they've probably been on YouTube for a while, actually. But some of them just seem to be popping up again. Yeah. And so I'd never seen this because we didn't see a lot of music videos. It was actually an interesting footnote is that the significant proportion of music videos that we'd seen were on people. We had a mate who recorded them off MTV for us, and there never were any of these ones. When you see this video, you can see why.
It is dreadful. There's a lot of denim. More denim.
So much denim in that.
Yeah.
The denim is strong in that one.
And it's another one of those dreadful comedy videos. But there is one good shot in it where I did quite like where he's just singing deadpan when they're driving along.
Yeah, interesting.
It's a nice shot of him. He's just about mouthing the words almost, but it's no emotion.
Yeah,
and I thought that was actually quite a nice. The rest of it's awful, but that one shot that was quite good.
Yeah, and remember at this time he must have been 18, 19 when he was recording that. So amazing. The world is oyster in that when you see him doing that, and you can hear the power in his voice in that song. It's one of the great Kiss singing songs. That one. Yeah, really, really, really good. Really good.
And at number 100 is Control I'm Here by Nitzer Ebb.
Oh, I really like this group.
You and Gary didn't you? I could never get into him.
Well, it was Gary that got me into it, strange enough, really. He picked up some I don't know which one he got first, but he certainly played Control I'm Here, this track, to me first, along with a couple of others. And it just instantly clicked with me. I really, really, really like the use of the synthesizers and the programming of them in here and the way the drums are done. I love it. So Douglas McCarthy and David Goody, group formed quite early into the whole sort of, and then they sort of became industrial. Industrial kind of was something that was pinned on them, but they exist in an interesting space for that. They're a very unusual band of that time. Mm-hmm. This is easily one of the best tracks they do. There's an amazing remix album called Muscle and Hate, which has a remix of this on it, which is absolutely just jaw-droppingly good. So good. So if you're out there, it's on Spotify, so don't check that out. But if you like that kind of thing. But this was off their album Belief, which was a very good album. They have actually reformed back in 2006 and are still going, as far as I can tell. Can't be stopped, you see? Yeah.
I mean, I can appreciate them, but it's just it just never grabbed me. Everyone else, I could get into stuff like Front 242, a little bit. They were kind of the same sort of thing. They were never a mass band that grabbed me. Even Skinny Puppy and stuff like that. But Nitzreb there was just something that I just never clicked with. But you can't like them all.
No, I mean, I've seen them live as well. They were amazing live for the short amount of time they played before they destroyed the speakers. But they were really good way back into this. So yeah, got a lot of time for the old Nitzreb, even the later stuff, which not a lot of people do like because they sort of went and started using guitars and things that turned synth heads off. But I would still like them. I still love you, Nitzreb.
Yeah. There were no Cuban 8, that's for sure.
They were a big influence on Cuban 8.
Yeah, I thought there would be. There we go. Right, that's your singles. Let's get into some albums. 2nd of October. We've spoken about the singles these, so we'll just probably might skip through some of these. Number 3 is Revolutions by Yomi El Yar.
Revolution, yeah. It's a good album. It's got Hank Marvin on a track on it.
Seriously? I mean, I don't know. What's Hank Marvin doing on it?
He plays live with John Jar at Docklands. He plays on his track. I forget what it's called now, but it's as you would imagine. It sounds. It's Jean-Michel Jarre synthesizers with Hank Marvin playing his sound of guitar over it. That's
dead weird.
It's actually a really good track.
I can't imagine the steps or who approached who. If Jean-Michel Jarre went and asked Hank Marvin if he'd be on his album, it's just weird, isn't it?
I don't know how those two met or how it happened, but
don't know. Maybe
it did. Somehow it did.
Somehow it did. Number 9 is Peace in Our Time by Big Country.
Bah.
Yeah, their 4th studio album. But I mean, I liked some of their mid-80s stuff, but by this point, no.
Yeah, they're not quite my cup of tea. I think the main guitarist had left at this point, I think, as well.
Yeah. Number 22, All That Jazz by Breathe.
Don't know a lot about Breathe. Bit dreary, sleazy sax pop for me, this one. Lots of trumpets.
Stabby trumpets, sleazy. Demure.
Yeah, wasn't it just?
Yeah, not very good. This. I don't know. We've not actually got anything down for this next one. Number 41, The Stars We Are by Mark Almond.
Yeah, somehow we missed us that. I don't know. I wasn't into Mark Almond, although I think he's a great singer.
Yeah. Anyway, he's got another album out. Number 48 is Metal Rhythm by Gary Newman. So off the wiki, it said his previous 3 studio albums, he released them on his own label, Numa Records, but they were all disappointing sales. So he went and signed with IRS Records. But most of the album had in fact been recorded before he signed with them, so they couldn't do anything to change it. It's like, oh. But the label was still able to exert influence on the album's release. He wanted to call the album Cold Metal Rhythm after its song of the same name, but IRS believes that IRS, that's the Inland Revenue Service, believes that the shortened title sounded less negative and more commercial. Gary Newman, man, less negative. Come on, Gary, you need to be a bit less negative.
Come on, don't be so negative, Newman.
Come on.
I'm not being negative. I
In
wrote
the future,
the song.
Whenever anyone hears your name, they're just going to think of erectile dysfunction, and you'll be all right. And, you know, New man. There's bloody adverts. In at number 66 is Vixen by Vixen.
Your favourite double namer. Self-titling.
Well, yeah, self-titled. Yeah, just lazy. But, you know, it's their first album, innit? I've been living on the... I've had that song stuck in my head since we did it in the singles the other week.
And you like them, don't you? I'm not.
I don't particularly like them. No, they're funny. They're what they are. They're a very pretty female metal band at the time, and they were marketed as very much in that respect. But Living in a Broken Heart, catchy tune.
Yeah, and remember that Richard Marx heavily responsible for their early career in this, and produced his album, in fact. So.
Really, I didn't know that actually.
Yes,
so Mr. Hazard.
That's it. Yeah.
Mr.
He
Hazard.
swore he left them safe and sound, and he says it every time. It's like, that's not funny anymore, as he just leaves.
Where'd you leave him, Richard? Left safe and sound by the river.
Just at the door click. I'm not answering that.
Where did you leave them, Richard? Go away!
Go away, leave me.
Stop ringing me. 9th of October, straight in at number 1, we've already spoken about this, Flying Colours by Crispy Burger.
There they are.
In at number 4 is Pop Art by Transvision Vamp, which was their debut studio album. Do you know this peaked at number 13 in Australia, where it was the 25th highest selling album of 1989?
I get it. That, the sort of thing they were throwing out there was, wildly sort of rowdy and poppy and, people like that kind of thing. But I don't think you can do it for more than 1 or 2 albums before people go, that's rubbish now.
Yeah.
It dates really quickly, that sort of stuff.
It does. You need to move on and do other stuff. Unless you're the Ramones, then you just do it forever.
Yes, well, that's the Ramones rule.
The Ramones rule, yeah. They're one that
apply the rule of Ramone.
It only lasts 3 minutes. Number 37, Talk Is Cheap by Keith Richards. I found this funny. It was the debut solo album by, I thought it was, by musician Keith Richards, guitarist of the Rolling Stones. It was recorded and released during a long-standing falling out with Mick Jagger. The falling out was because the image-conscious Jagger was keen to follow the trends and keep the Rolling Stones current, while Richards wanted to preserve their reputation and roots.
Okay.
So what that means is that led to the green shirt and, dancing in the street nightmare. That's what his interpretation of keeping current was.
Yeah, exactly. You can see why he released his own stuff.
Keith Richards going, I ain't doing that.
Keith Richards is literally a husk.
He's kept together by hair and blue tack.
It must be. I think if you look really close, it's just loads of ants have just formed a Keith Richards.
It's the thing from Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, it is. But the musical version, they've just formed what some ants form. Nests, and some ants do, mount and ant hills and things like that. That particular type of ant did a Keith Richards. They just did.
Keith Rich ant.
That's what they are. That's their type. They're very rare, but when they get together, they just form guitarists in rock and roll bands.
They form 1960s guitarists.
Yes, it's unusual, but very skilled they
Absolutely.
are.
And Mick Jagger, by the way, right now is just living spaghetti.
That's such a good description of him. That's exactly what he is.
He is. That's what he is.
It's just if you got an egg and stuck it on top of a stick of spaghetti, you'd have him.
It's just him. He's like,
you're not Mick Jagger. You're just a string of spaghetti. It just crumbles down and drops. Wow, it really was.
How do you know?
And then Keith Richards, all the ants just drop. I was like, I've got 2 of my band members. One was spaghetti and one was ants.
How did you know? I knew when I walked past her.
Oh, God's sake.
The living spaghetti.
Living spaghetti and a guitarist made of ants working together.
Absolutely.
Working as one.
See them live, Rolling Stones, as you've never seen them before.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have any sweet things in the front row. None.
No.
Someone opens like a Mars bar and you just see Keith Richards just disappear. Just collapses.
Someone throws a tin of tomatoes at Mick Jagger and he just dissolves into a nice sauce.
Yeah, the security guy. Not the marinara. Oh.
Oh dear. Number 46 is Watermark by Enya.
Yeah, no thanks.
No, it's a second studio album anyway. Number 79 is No Sleep at All by Motorhead. This is the third live album.
Very loud band. Good if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you like that kind of thing. Number 1, 16th of October, straight at number 1 was Rattle and Hum.
Yeah, Rattle and Bum, more like.
Yep. Number 2, Introspective by the Pet Shop Boys. This was their third studio album, and there are only 6 tracks on this album. Left to My Own Devices, I Want a Dog, Domino Dancing, I'm Not Scared, Always on My Mind, and It's All Right. They did it backwards because they usually, as it says in the wiki sort of thing, they approach this as like most albums have, 3 to 5 minute songs, about 10 of them, and then they release remixes. What they did with this is they just did the remixes first, and then mixed them down for single releases.
Okay, interesting.
Which is an interesting way of, means you just don't have to come up with so many songs.
True.
To fill an album up. So all the songs on it are like 6 to 9 minutes long.
But roommate, when I was living in my second house at university, the guy was a shared house, and the guy that we used to call him Lawnmower Man. It's a bit like that. So, but he very rarely came out of his room, but he always played that album really loud, really, really loud. So,
wow,
used to drive me a little bit mad. So.
And at number 3 was To Whom It May Concern by the Pasadenas.
Nah.
No, I don't care. Number 18 is Into the Dragon by Bomb the Bass.
Good album, that, actually, if you're into your sort of, housey stuff. And
yeah, Mega Blast on that.
It is indeed.
In at number 23 is No Rest for the Wicked by Ozzy Osbourne, his 5th studio album. That's not a good cover.
No, it's not. For all sorts of reasons, bad.
Yeah, just go have a look for it. You'll see what we mean. It's basically him sat on some kind of devilish necromantic throne with 3 young girls around him screaming at him.
Yeah, and he's dressed in Hessian, and that's never a good thing.
It's not.
Didn't work well for the Sergeant Howie and the Wicker Man. It won't end well for him.
No, Hessian's not a good look. In at number 25 is Barcelona by Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Cabal.
Barcelona. No, one his finest moment. It's good singing if you like that kind of thing, but not for me.
Yeah, not for me either. Number 37 is The Price You Pay, Spear of Destiny, their 5th studio album. We talked a bit about this, I think, the other week when they had So In Love With You.
A little bit. We did, yeah.
Which is on the album. Great track. And finally, for this day, is number 38, Always by Hazel Dean.
Stupid. Rubbish.
This was Saw, wasn't it? More Saw nonsense.
It is absolutely more Saw nonsense.
23rd of October, straight in at number 1 is Money for Nothing by Dire Straits.
Yeah, we mentioned that before.
Yeah. Number 3 is Any Love by Luther Vandross, which is the 6th studio album by American singer Luther Vandross. I was going to guess that this was very smooth with some funk thrown in. So I listened to the single, She Won't Talk to Me, and I was not wrong.
No, it's exactly that. You can only play the LP once because once you've played it, it smooths itself out and just goes completely unplayable. It's a record like you can actually, it turns into a cream that you can put on your face. It's like a foundation cream.
Which then gets rid of all your features.
Exactly. It's just smoothens you. It comes with its own smoothening cream.
It does. In at number 9 is Giving You the Best That I Got by Anita Baker.
Yeah.
The third album by American R&B soul singer Anita Baker. In at number 12 is The Smash Hits Party 88, various artists. In case you don't have a Now or a Hits album.
That's what they should have called it.
Number 13 is Fisherman's Blues by the Waterboys.
Waterboys, no.
This is, I think their 4th album or something. I don't know what it is. But the album marks a change in the band's sound, with them abandoning their earlier grandiose rock sound for a mixture of traditional Irish music, traditional Scottish music, country music, and rock and roll. Critics were divided on its release, with some disappointed at the change of direction and others ranking it among the Waterboys' best work.
I'm sensing a Spinal Tap moment. We hope you enjoy our new direction. This is Birth of Spinal Tap Mark II.
We are the Watermen. We have grown up.
We are not about to do a 10-minute freeform jazz exploration in front of a festival crowd.
You'd just go, wouldn't you, if you went to see Waterboys? You'd just do Hole of the Moon.
Yeah, everyone. We don't want to play it. Yeah, are you doing that? No. You're no Waterboys.
Not anymore. Number 15 is Big Thing by Duran Duran, their 5th studio album.
Yes.
The recent singles have not been good.
No, it's not a good album at all. It's the tragic fall. They come back with one good song way later down the line, don't they? Which is Ordinary World. But until this point, it's just going down, baby.
Yeah, this is the nadir for Duran Duran. Number 32 is Comedy by Black. See what they did there, Black Comedy.
Yeah, clever that. Clever play on words.
Yeah. I put so bland, it should have been labelled as Contrabland and made illegal.
Contrabland. I love it. Contrabland is a great name for that.
Contraband, and it should have been made illegal.
Yes, it is dull. Dull as dishwater.
Yeah, very much so. 13th of October. In at number 4 is Rage by T'Pau, the second album by British pop group T'Pau. It reached number 4 and gave the group 3 hit singles, Secret Garden, Road to Our Dream, and Only the Lonely. You remember them.
Their debt to society paid in full.
I knew you'd get that as soon as I wrote it. You remember them, don't you? Whitman, Price, and Haddad.
Even now they're drinking and enjoying the Maui sun. They're not, though. Terrible album. Yeah. Rubbish band at this point. Downhill again. Down they go.
Down they go. In at number 39 is The Beat, The Rhyme, The Noise by the Wee Papa Girl Rappers.
I bet We Rule is on that.
Yeah, it's their debut album. I didn't know this. Before being signed to Jive Records, the two sisters were backing singers for Fergal Sharkey.
Oh, I didn't know that at all.
According to the Wikipedia.
Who should really have been called Fergal Shaky, shouldn't he, with a voice like that?
Yeah, but then he got mixed up with Shaky Stevens.
Can you imagine if Fergal Sharkey and Shaky?
Fergal Shaky Stevens.
Or if they just sang a duet, Fergal Sharkey and Shaky.
It's too much.
Sharky and Shaky for the first time and the last time.
Sharky, Shaky, Shaky, Sharky. Number 56, finally, just to round it off. Number 56, The Travelling Wilburys by the Travelling Wilburys.
Oh, there it is, yeah. The supergroup produces an album.
Yeah, not a lot to say about it. You got anything you want to say about it?
No, not at all. It's got me thinking that if Fergal Sharkey, Shaking Stevens and Cheryl Baker, you could have Sharky, Shaky and Bakey. Sharky, Shaky, Bakey.
You could do. Sounds like a cookery show in the making. Where Fergal Sharkey takes them around the highlights of Ireland to bake, to sample the big thing. The problem is that Shaking Stevens can no longer actually control his hands, so he can't eat.
No, all he can do is they give him the flour to sieve. He's good at that.
And he just cries into it. That's all he does
Makes a good
days.
dough. He makes a good dough, a good old, plain old dough.
Come on, Shaky, cry your tears of regret.
What's the special flavour in this bread? That's Shaky's tears.
Is that some local condiment? You might say that.
You might say that.
It's local to his face.
And is this mayo? We'll call it mayo. Yeah,
it's shaky mayo.
Shaky mayo. Moving on.
What's this sugar?
And he just there scramble. Oh no, bloody Richards has been in. Oh, we're never going to get him back into his human form now, you idiots. Told you, keep the sugar out. Oh, we nearly had a super group then.
What's in that plate? That's spaghetti. Oh, Jagger!
No. Bring the Travelling Wilburys in. None of them are made of ants.
No.
Doesn't matter now. We've got a new super group.
Yeah, we have shaky bakey and spaghetti.
Shaky bakey with in brackets it'd be with spaghetti and Rich Ant. Keith
There you
Rich
go.
Ant.
Anyway,
the random stuff that comes out of our mouth sometimes. Wow.
Anyway, on that living spaghetti note, that's the music. That's it. That's all done. There's no more. There was no more music this month. We're going to go away, take a break for our own sanity. Come back. We've got 4 more games to get through. Yeah, 4 more games to get through. So we'll be back with them in a little bit. So please keep listening.
The novel Escape from the Commodore 64 by David Hearn is out now. Crash landing on a green planet full of vector graphics, can Sarah find a way to escape for real? Or is she stranded on a planet full of sun, sea, and chippy tea forever? Imagine finding yourself in a cinematic karate game, having to rescue a princess, or remain stuck under the run-stop key forever. What about finding yourself on a space freighter full of robots? Could you clear the decks? If you were transported back to a Wild West town, having to round up outlaws, could you survive until sunset? What if you were a wizard with a cat who must colour worlds? Could you beat the game, or would a virtual guitar solo announce your demise? Sarah might just be another visitor, but she doesn't want to stay a while, never mind forever. Available from Amazon and all good online retailers, discover if there's a way out in Escape from the Commodore 64. Visit davidhearnwriter.com to find out more.
And we're back. 4 more games still to come. So let's waste no time. Let's get straight into them. The first one, well, time to don our sheepskin coat, put on our tracksuit, and shout from the sidelines as 22 men charge about after a ball again. This is Tracksuit Manager. It's got 89%, Graham.
Whole 89%. Pretty good score.
89%. One off a sizzler. So the football management trend continues with Tracksuit Manager from Goliath Games, whose only other game would be World Championship Boxing Manager. That's niche.
Very niche.
In 2 years' time. And this is the only game credited to one Jay Foster. That's it. All I could find out. So this is quite a sterile take on the sim, but it's not without, anyway, we'll get there. And does away with any kind of graphical representation of the game and goes for a purely text-based system.
It does.
But does it have where it counts? Does it have it where it counts? And is it any good? 89% must have something going for it. So this goes for a different angle on the management sim and moves away from league football to international football. After crashing out of the World Cup, your country has chosen you as their new manager. It is your job to guide them through the next 4 years of football, through the Nations Cup, it's essentially the Euros, and then on to the World Cup. Upon starting, you are given the default option to manage England, so you can just go, yeah, okay. But should you not wish to, you can pick any one of 32 other European countries to manage. If you do pick England, you get the standard familiar English players from the period. So you get Shilton, your Lineker, your Beardsley, Peter Reid, Glenn Hoddle, Tony Adams, Terry Butcher, all of them, all recognisable names that, if you're into football, you'll recognise them, so on and so on. If you pick another country, you get to enter your own names for each player. You can have some fun there, I can tell you. Actually, I imagine you did.
Yes, I did.
Calibos passes to Atreus.
Oh, he was my manager.
What, Calibos?
Calibos Dog Egg, yeah.
I thought it'd be Bob Calibos.
No, Calibos Dog Egg.
Calibos Dog Egg, yeah. Your own name for each player. You pick their position and their home club as well. And you can have anywhere between 30 and 100 players for this. That's quite a chunk. And that's quite a nice touch. So if you don't want to have a standard English team, you just pick another country and then just put your own names in, which is kind of okay. Once done, you're welcomed into the role by the newspapers, the Daily Slag, and the Sporting Knife.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
I know. Sometimes these things really don't age well, do they?
No.
I can, it's the Daily Star or the Daily Sun or the Sun, whatever, but it's not great. Off we go anyway. So everything in this is joystick controlled. That's good. Apart from obviously typing in your players' names if you're doing that bit, but it's all joystick controls. And it's nice and easy to actually play through this. The game starts on July 1st, and you get that message saying, you are our new manager. You've gone through all that. You picked your team. You've got your squad, whoever you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And from here, you've got options along the bottom of the screen, which are date, squad, scout, play, watch, cup, diary, and save. So date allows you to move the time on to the next date where any fixtures are planned. So you just press that and time goes forward. So that's it. Pressing date on a day when there are fixtures brings up the results. If your game is not playing, so you're just advancing it, you press date again and that'll just go, right, this day's over. These are the results from that day. And you can see how many, it gives you some stats as well for each game. So you can see how many shots there were on goal, disallowed goals, fouls, bookings, and sendings off. So quite a bit of data. It's all pretty fast as well. Not like, what was that, the double, where it took ages for anything to happen. It's just, this is like there. This is the great thing about this game is its speed. If you press squad, that takes you to your squad list. And here, to get out of this, if you haven't been in here before, you can't get out of this without picking your initial squad from which to choose your players when you play a match. So if you don't know, for international football, the manager picks a squad from all the players that are available from all the clubs in the country or from anywhere. Players that are eligible to play for that country. You have a squad of between 15 and 22 players. So you've got more players than that at your disposal. Like I said, you could have 100, but it allows you to, if someone gets injured, then you can swap them out and bring someone else into your squad and so on and so forth. But you can only have a maximum of 22. So like I said, you can always return later and add other players, swap them out if someone's not playing well and things like that. So that's quite good. It's quite easy to do. Back in the main menu, you can scout any game that is taking place that day, and doing so will allow you to view the stats of any team you have scouted after the game has been played. So if you scout, you go watch a game, USA against France or something, if it's just a friendly. After that point, you can check on France and see what their details are, where they're strong, where they're weak, and thus when you go to play them, if you're going to play them, then you can, you can sort of curtail your strategy around that. We'll skip play for the moment, but watch allows you to watch any game being played that day, and it basically does. You just watch the game. It's as if you were playing one of your own games, so you can watch all that. And again, after doing that, you can look at the stats for each team on that as well. If you go to Cup, it shows you the stats and dates and groups for the upcoming Nations or World Cup. So there's lots of data, so you can see all the these 8 groups with all the teams in, who's playing who, when the round of games are being played, things like that. Diary allows you to arrange games either as a one-off or a tour, so you can play against those in your upcoming group if you wanted to see what they're like, or anybody you want. If you just want to arrange a diary fixture to get a feel for your team and who's good and who's bad and whatever sort of thing, you just arrange your fixture. And you can arrange it for any day, you can arrange it for the following day or whenever, it's up to you. And finally, save just allows you to save the game to reload it later, because it asks you if you want to load a game at the beginning. So if you've arranged a game, then choosing play takes you to the preparations for your game. And this is where this game actually, opens up. So first of all, you've got to pick your team. You choose 11 players from your squad as your starting 11. The default formation is usually 4-3-3, but you have the option to go into the team tactics and change this. So in fact, in the tactics, you can change to a 4-4-2. Or a 4-2-4. So that's 4 in defence, 2 in midfield, 4 in attack, or 4. That's what it is. You've got options. You can play attacking, defensive, or balanced. You can go for a slow build-up, counter-attacking, or normal build-ups. You can opt for zonal marking or man-to-man marking. If this doesn't mean anything to you, zonal marking means I mark this area, and anyone that comes into this place, I will mark them. Man-to-man means I am assigned to that person, and I will follow them and track them and make sure they don't go off and wherever. You can choose a short, normal, or long passing style. You can choose how aggressive to be in tackling. So, don't go in for strong tackles, be balanced, or really, get into them. Obviously, this has the downsides. If you go, if you're not very strong in tackling, you might get pushed off the ball a lot. If you're normal, whatever, if someone's going to be aggressive, or if you're going for aggressive, you run the risk of fouls being given and bookings and sendings off and that sort of thing. And finally, you can opt whether to play a normal defensive system or a sweeper system. So quite a lot of tactics here, and certainly a lot more than what we saw in Football Manager 2. So once you've chosen your team, you can even then go in and tweak the tactics for each player. So you may tell your team to be normal thingy, but you might tell your centre midfielder to be aggressive in tackling or to play long balls. So you can actually micromanage each player to be different to the team stats. That's really good. And I don't know how much difference it makes behind the scenes. I'm guessing it does, but it seems to. So this is quite, this is really good, sort of allowing you to sort of, quite forward thinking and allowing you to get in there and sort of set the team up as you want it to do it. And you can override the marking system, pass style, as I said, anything you want to do. You can even tell them set who takes corners, who takes penalties, who takes free kicks, and who does the throw-ins as well. So you can set all them. You set a player to do each one of them as well. So once you're happy with all this tinkering, you go to play, and the match will start. So the view switches, and it switches to something that's not too dissimilar to a modern day betting app. So something like Bets365 or Sky Sports, Sky Betting. If you've ever played one, if you ever watched a game on one of those, this is very similar to that. I thought really similar. So
yes,
at the top, the teams and the score is right at the top. Then under that, there's like a text-based update of the game being played. So there's updates on passes. So it'll say, Cotti passes to Lineker, bad pass, so-and-so picks it up, and, and it'll do it play by play, minute by minute as you're passing through it. This, you can feel this game being played. So it'll update on passes, throw-ins, corners, shots, goals. If you shoot and score, whenever you shoot, it's got a really cool little pause, like 3 dots. It's like, so-and-so shoots, ... and it's wide. And you're like, oh, damn it. So that's really, this builds a little tension into it. And there's quite some nice little touches like that. Under that, so under the this sort of text-based thing, which takes up the top part of the screen, you've got the elapsed time. So it just basically counts up in minutes, 1 to 45. There's no extra time or injury time or anything like that. And then you go to, half time, whatever. There's also a visual of the pitch. And this is, again, similar to a betting app, because it's essentially like a highlighted bar that moves up and down the pitch, across left and right to the pitch, depending on where the action is taking place. And it tracks it, so you kind of know, there's a lot of play in our halves. This isn't good. We need to sort of switch up our tactics a bit, change stuff, and things like that. So that's the actual way it represents the game is actually really well done. That sort of combo of the pitch and showing you where the players and the sort of up to date, updates in this text way is really quite a good way of sort of doing it, and gets away from that sort of crap visual style that a lot of these games kind of get hampered by. This just does away with it. Don't even try. No. So it's almost like watching a video printer go up or listening to it on the radio or something like that. It's kind of got that kind of feel. But you can go in and change stuff. So at the bottom of this, you've got a couple of options. You can pause the game, which is nice, if you want to pause it, or you can make a substitution. And if you do make a substitution, and you can do that at any time, so anytime during the game, you can go in and make a substitution. At that point, if you make it, you can also then go in and change the team tactics or the player tactics again for all your players. So if something's not working, you can swap it up a bit and change it up, bring someone new on like that. As the game progresses, goals are scored or not, and it keeps you on. And the scores here are realistic as well. You're not going to get your 8-7s and stuff like that. It's like sometimes you get a 1, 3-1 or 2-1 or 1-0 or lots. I got lots of 0-0s, cause it's England. It's England in the 80s, so that's what happened. So at halftime, you can make changes to your strategy. So here, you don't even have to make a substitute. You can go in and change your strategy, or you can just carry on. When the game is over, you get the match stats as you did if you were watching a game, and you get some comments from the press. So if you're not doing well, it's like you're boring, fails to impress, and all that. Or if you're doing well, yeah, England do well, or so and so, and yeah, to get them as well. And after that, it's back to the menu, and you carry on. So you play through the first months. Like I said, you start in July. And when you get to the cup, you play your games the same way, and afterwards you get all the results. You can look in the diary. So the games start in October. So the cup games don't start till October. So you've got to get through from July to thingy. So it allows you plenty of time to play some friendlies, get to know your team as you see fit. You can just skip it all and just keep pressing date to get to the cup games. It's completely up to you. After that, so you get your stats, and you get all the cup results, and you see the groups and where you are in the group, and you can go and check them. And some of the groups have 5 teams in, so some of those you can see how that's all planned out. And that's it. So then you progress through the cup, And this way it all works is that you have to qualify. So over the 2 years, so it's a long period. It's not just one game and you're into the cup. You've got to play all the teams in your group at least twice, both home and away. And if you get top of the group, you get into the finals. Now, I didn't play it as long enough to get to the finals. You have to. It takes a while to play this, to watch every game and do it, even if you speed things up a bit. So I had a bit of a time constraint playing this, but it looks like it goes all the way through to the cups, and then you have the cup rounds and play that. If you get through that, you then progress to the World Cup, and I imagine it follows the same thing, but from teams, or when you get to the World Cup, it'll be teams from all around the world in the World Cup, and that's your 4 years, and that's what you've got to do with. There's a lot of time this is going to take. This is not a dip in, and just have a quick game. It's like you've got to afford some time, and you're going to need that save and load function, because this is quite a lengthy game to sort of try and work your way through and make your way all the way to the end. And so, yeah, I think this is easily the best managerial sim we've looked at. By far. It addressed all those issues I had. We were talking about Football Manager 2 last time when you were reviewing that, and you found that quite easy to get into, and I was saying it's missing all these bits, the bits that I kind of want. This has it, and has them all there. I like the wealth of options you have to change things up, the tactics on offer, the ability to create my own team for another country. I like the text-based updates, the way that works. The menus are quick. The game is quick. It's easy to navigate, the whole thing with a joystick, and it's easy to get into and play games, even if you do not want to get stuck into the tactics side of thing. You can just pick a team and go. You don't have to. You can just leave it balanced and let it play. As early management sims go, I think this is excellent, and I enjoyed my time with it. And I may continue to try and guide Spain, because I took a snapshot to the Nations Cup, and hopefully the World Cup. I'd just dip in every now and again, just play a game at some point in the future. I really did enjoy this. I thought it was a really good management sim for an 8-bit management sim, and I think getting rid of the graphics is a smart touch. And this was just an enjoyable. I mean, I love football, obviously, and so your mileage may vary, but as one of these kind of games, this is certainly the best we've looked at by far, just for its pace, its speed, and its depth. So I really enjoyed this. What about you?
Yeah, it was exciting, wasn't it? I suppose the potential of playing as England, never a bad thing. I think it missed the localization a little bit of the other ones, so because it's all international teams, and if you don't know anything about football, you definitely don't know a lot about international teams. It's a bit lost in there. I thought to myself, this was going to be the year that Calibos Dog Egg took his England squad to victory. I did try the other ones as well, give my own team names. Found all that a bit exhausting after a time, but it was all part and parcel of it. The one thing you'll say about this game is that it's fast to navigate through and get through to stuff. I don't know how it happened, but I ended up playing against South Korea, and sort of because I don't know. I had it looked like to me like it was all the groupings for a World Cup, because I chose England, and then all of a sudden it was just displayed all these different groups, and I was in the same group as South Korea, and then I was playing South Korea. That was the game I played. I lost to South Korea as well. I chose a squad of randoms. Names are recognised, probably positions they've never played.
Probably why then.
But I lost to South Korea. But I was able to get in and do what I needed to do. I could see that this had all of the deeper layers that you were, clawing for with against Football Manager 2, and I totally get that this would really appeal. I think for me, I don't generally get on with these kind of games, but I was still able to get in and enjoy the vicarious nature of what these things are. I'm not going to get a lot more out of it because I don't know enough about football to know about all of the different nuances, but I totally see where it comes from. It's certainly a good companion game. If you like this kind of thing, you would do well to have this in one of the Football Manager games in your collection. I'm sure you would have had. Mm-hmm. I totally avoided these back in the day, so they were never going to be on my transom. But having played this one and having played Football Manager 2, I thought they were both pretty good. I think it didn't need the graphics, really. I think, if anything, that little sort of display it had where it kind of moved across the pitch gave you as much information as you needed. And obviously you could then go in and change the tactics. I didn't change the tactics when I played it. I thought, in for a penny, in for a pound. I seem to remember making John Barnes very powerful. But other than that,
he's a powerful man.
It had all this sort of, I had the names I recognised, some I didn't. I was able to. The one thing I will say about this game is that, considering its complexity, it's very, 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 very intuitive in terms of how you control the thing. It's nice and simple. That really good, easy user interface to work your way around, and that. Even for a novice was quite interesting. Just you're not going to get any of the nuanced parts of this unless you know how to really understand the nuances. But other than that, perfectly acceptable Football Manager game. And I think because there's not many of them, is there? This is probably, like you said, I'm assuming it's the best one, having only really enjoyed 2. They both seemed all right to me. But if this is the better one, I'll take your word for it. Zap seemed to agree with you. They were giving it a good pat on the back. So yeah, I think it's all right. If you like managing international football teams with silly names, you can do that in this, and that's always good.
That is always good.
It's all right.
Yeah, I liked it. Good stuff. There we go. Tracksuit Manager. Let's move on. We've got another one coming up, and I'm hoping it's a diamond in the rough, but I could be wrong. Because Graham, you got the pleasure of playing Diamond.
Diamond games don't often fare well, do they?
Dickie's Diamond.
Diamond, yeah, I think springs to mind. $8.99 for this, 22% though.
Ooh.
Not good, that. Publisher was Destiny. Destiny. And this was coded by Penry the Mild-Mannered Janitor, according to at least the C60. I think somebody didn't like what they'd done, and I can sort of see why. Based heavily on a Spectrum game, the tale of this is weird. As you would expect for this, Malik and the Wardens patrolled the system of Luma. Hey, their terror ships... their terror ships enforced the doctrine of Zan. Oh, God's sake. Ensuring the balance between the heavens of Zia and Zan. Only once were their services sought. It was to quash an uprising amid the outer planets. War brought prisoners. Treens of thousands were sent out to the darkest Zia, to isolation on giant prison ships. There to be forgotten. There to die. Those steel coffins high-orbited for hundreds of years. High-orbited? Okay. The people of Zan knew only of the story passed down to them. Surely, don't call me Surely, they were all dead now. Nobody knew. People just wondered. One prophetic evening.
What?
One prophetic evening. Two lovers of Zan looked across the orange sky to notice 5 new stars, bigger than the rest, almost twinkling like diamonds. The heavens had released the prison ships to fill the sky, and orbits through the heavens had brought them back. Then the legacy unfolded. Those old fusion motors had given their last kick long ago. Now they swarmed with photon fields. Within the confines of those dark ships, the prisoners of Zan scavenged to survive. Advanced strogenic regeneration set in. Yeah, and nobody wants that.
No.
They mutated to breed monsters that were strong in the steely dark. Steely dark? Anyway. So strong. so strong. It's a sentence as well. Now they eat through the steel hulls to land on Zan and seek revenge. Son of Malik, the truest of Zan, remembered the story and felt guilt. But whatever he felt, he had to take care of it. It would be done as Malik would have been done. Sorry, it would be done as Malik would have it done. As a last resort, he'd destroy them. If possible, he'd secure them until something else could be done. A lot of duns in that paragraph.
Too many duns.
Only a supertronic, a craft as strong as Diamond, could go out there, and he had 5 under his command. They were equipped to land and secure whole ships. He planned to land on each ship in turn and seal them. He signaled to his crews to fuse up. Death to the Zia, he shouted. No, he said firmly. Let's not forget they were Zan once.
What?
Right. Okay. All right. I mean, where do you go with that?
Straight to the bank.
So the trouble with this, right? This is emblematic of the problem. This game is actually just a buggy piece of shit.
Well, there is that as well, yeah.
It's made difficult when you play it by the lack of clear instructions, because the instructions explain a whole bunch of stuff without any context that applies to the actual game that you play. So you've got a clue what you're doing. Nope. It's all meaningless. It's all just guff. The objective here, it says, to search and secure a prison ship on one of 5 levels. A ship is deemed secure when all exits have been sealed. The sooner a ship is secured, the more creatures will remain as prisoners. Your score indicates how many prisoners remain and additional points for those killed. Find any exits made by them and land as close as possible. In order to seal them up, you'll need to make your way about the hull, being careful of the prison ship's devices. That's the objective.
Yep.
And it not only does it not make sense, it doesn't tie into the main thing. Nothing here. It's impossible, this. What you end up with is something very dull and repetitive. You've actually got to basically scroll across a load of meaningless backgrounds in one of 5 supertronic guises, which you can control and you can switch between them. So the best way I can describe what you actually end up doing in the game, because it ties in basically to all of that guff there's loads of extra stuff in the instructions that are not conveyed anywhere in the game. Nope. There's statuses, the robots have different modes, each one has its own strengths. You can only do certain things in certain ways. You have to press get the status cover with certain key presses. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here, but it does not convey in the game. And now I found the game quite buggy. It crashed so many times. It kept turning into like a flickery, gibbery mass. And I found it very difficult. So it kept crashing all the time. Even the opening screens, you'd press the fire button to start and it would crash. So you end up doing what is, I think, really what is at the heart of this, which is just floating over a load of meaningless backgrounds, trying to figure out what you're meant to be doing. I couldn't pick anything up. I could seem to pick anything up if I flew over a couple of things. Didn't know what they were, what I was meant to do with them or how. Change between the various objects. The Supertronics doesn't help me because I had no context of what I was meant to be doing with any of them, where they were meant to go. So I just floated around. And the instructions, as I tried to refer back to them, held no hope because it doesn't explain anything. So what you end up with is just a really boring mess of a game.
Yep.
Graphics are horribly badly realized. The graphics are a horribly badly realized version of a Spectrum game. And the Supertronic responds to your joystick okay, but the rest of the screen fidgets and twitches about. And I said, there's bugs in there. So everything here shouts just bad conversion. Very poor title screen where the scrolling message actually starts at the wrong screen location. So it starts on the right-hand side into the screen. So you see the letters appearing. That's scroll message. That's not, you don't do that. Everyone that's ever coded a scroller on a C64 knows that's not the way it's done. You don't, you have the, seamless scrolling is the de rigueur there. And that's just screen positioning. That's just basic screen positioning. Don't do that. You never start your scroll on screen. It's a crime.
Nope.
There's weird controls in it, as I said. Lots of keyboard, oddly monochromatic sprites with really weirdly shaded backgrounds that didn't look very nice in that kind of half specky, half badly drawn BBC kind of look. All very messy, all very bitty. The opening screen, as I said, got this really weird blue, light blue and red logo diamond straight out the specky version. That game itself, again, you've got a UI of sorts, but it tells you information that doesn't bear any relevance to anything that I could make out. Nope. It said that you've got your mode on there, but and you can change the mode depending on what Supertronic you are. But so you've got high bar mode, solar mode, killer mode, rover mode. Doesn't mean anything.
No,
because when you change the mode, you still know what you're doing. I was just wandering around in a different guise. Not good, this. So I didn't enjoy anything about it. Very poor information. Doesn't give you anything away. Doesn't tell you what it is. You got this elaborate story that means literally nothing. Just all badly realized. I didn't like it. Messy, bitty, basically full price as well. Not great value for money. And there was, really weirdly, there was a... was it this one that had a random cassette with it, or is that a different game?
No, yeah, it is this one, yeah.
Yeah, so this one came with randomly, it came with a cassette single of a band called The Company She Keeps. There was two singles. There was on the A side, you had What a Girl Wants. On the B side was Express Interest. No idea what that's got to do with anything to do with this game at all. I don't know. No. Genuinely don't know. Rick Mail's in the video for it. We'll post the links in the YouTube. Both songs are a bit forgettable. Nothing to do with space robots and the planet, whatever the hell it was, and all the rest of it, and Malik and the Wardens and Zan. I don't know what that's got to do with it. So why that's with it, I don't know. I guess it's just because they thought this is crap, so we may as well give them something. And the song came out in 1985 or 86, so it's ages old as well. So for your suddenly £9, you're getting a crap broken game that doesn't work with no instructions and a song from a few years ago that you won't remember. Arse Candle. Did you like it?
No, I didn't. I've just put the loading screen into the agenda because that will just confuse you even further.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it doesn't bear any relevance to anything that you're doing, does it?
What's that white stuff coming out of his pipe?
I don't want to know. What's that shooting out of his finger?
I don't know. Why is it like a baby thing?
I don't know. It's just I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. No, this is not a good game. What is this? I spent far too long trying to figure out what the hell to do as I meandered around the hull of some god-awful graphical nightmare in my single-coloured sprite that fired multicoloured bullets. Don't mix your reses.
Never mix the reses.
Don't do that. What game uses F2, F4, F6, and F8 on the Commodore 64?
Not a good one.
What you barely uses any other key, so why use Shift F1, F2? I don't get it.
Stupid.
Why would you do that? Why are some options shift and another key? I saw this the other week with that stupid snooker one.
So was it on the Amstrad? Were they the keys for an Amstrad, maybe? Because this is just straight lifted off the Spectrum.
No, because the control in the Spectrum, they make sense. It's ASD and F. So because I got the instructions, pasted them in the thing. There's a picture of them there. So it's ASD and F. But on the Commodore 64 version, it's Shift F1, Shift F3, Shift F5,
explains
Shift
why
F7.
I couldn't get it to do anything because I have to press 3 keys on my Mac keyboard to make them happen.
Yeah, it's bloody stupid. So why would anyone, oh God, you got the whole keyboard choose. Why use shift? Why not just F1, F3, F5, and F7?
We had this with a game last episode as well.
Yeah, it was that snooker one.
Yep.
That professional snooker. Just stupid. I don't understand this game or what it's actually supposed to be. This is this is one of the worst, most confusing and illogical pieces of crap I've played this year. This is another contender in the shit on a stick award as far as I'm concerned. Awful. Just dreadful. It's just a mess. What kind of mode just sets your ship just to go called high bar and it just goes round in a big hexagon shape?
Stupid.
Well, it says, press fire when you're over the gaps and the thingy. I was pressing fire to repair them. I'm like, nothing's happening.
Didn't do anything, yep.
Nothing's happening. There's nothing. I mean, am I in the right mode? What mode does what? What is solar mode? What is kill up mode? Who knows? It's just god awful. 22% for this is because there was that. What was that one we looked at? I0. That was that budget game, wasn't it? And that got 13%. That's better than this because I0 it wasn't very good, but it worked and everything worked and it had that with the batteries and things like that. It wasn't very good, but this 22% now, this is all over the shop. This should be in the single digits, as far as I'm concerned. It's broken, nasty, and horrible, and just stupid,
crashy.
Stupid design options. No, terrible, terrible game. Certainly not a diamond, that's for sure. This came out of a diamond squeezer, if ever I've seen one. Painfully, yeah. It came out like that bloody thing in the screenshot.
Someone followed through. They thought it was a diamond, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, as you rightly said when I said to you, you just went, it's just coal.
It is coal, yeah.
This hasn't been formed long enough to be a diamond. It's just dreadful. No. Awful game. Dreadful. Let's move on quickly. We've still got 2 more to get through. And our next one, LA Crackdown.
It is.
This is an odd one. This is $14.99, disc only. It's got 61%. So, LA Crackdown, you play a cop in a van. That's this game.
Did you say cock a van?
You play a cock a van. A cop in a van. Cop in a van.
Cop in a van.
Cop in a van. In this disc only game from Epix, of all people. Here's the story from the back of the box. Good morning. Something's come up. Or rather, something illegal's just come in. Those two don't... No. They don't work. Something illegal's just come in from Hong Kong. Yes, it's that synthetic drug Samadhi again. And unless you can break up the drug ring, half of Los Angeles will soon be under its pernicious influence. Your mission? Stake out the Pacific Shipping Company and gather enough evidence to make the bust. We're assigning one of our most promising rookies to be your inside man. You'll direct his every move from 2 video screens mounted inside the highest of high-tech surveillance vans. Ask him to plant bugs, search the warehouse, interview a character, or maybe just rough up the thugs a bit. It's all up to you. But remember, this rookie has a mind of his own and learns from his past experience. He can refuse or quit at any time. No, he can't. I'm his boss. Just one false arrest charged or one spooked informer and you'll be working this warehouse by yourself. No wonder they call this Mission Impossible. No, they don't. None of this makes any sort of sense. If this is such a dangerous drug, why do they just assign it to one man in a van and a rookie cop?
Yep.
Why the whole police force down there? So that doesn't really make much sense. Anyway, this was released by Epix, developed by the Nexa Corporation. Very RoboCop, that, isn't it? The Nexa Corporation.
Oh, totally.
It's got coding done by Leonard Chan and Clifford Yap, and the music is by Chris Grigg. When the game starts and you have returned from your swell vacation, that's the manual words, not mine, you are given your assignment and asked to select from a batch of rookies who you will guide through the investigation. There are 4 to choose from, and I chose the big and well-grown Felix Schwarzenegger, because of course I would. The game itself is presented in 3 windows. The top 2 show a view of the action taking place, and the bottom shows your options, a map of your current location, or of LA if you're outside the location, and the time and date and the status of any bugs you have placed. So when you start, you're outside the police headquarters, and you can see this in the top right view. So the top right is usually outside a location, and the top left view is usually in the internal of a location. You getting that? That's what it is. So, okay, you're outside the police headquarters. First thing you want to do is head to the warehouse to start poking around. You have a list of options, and selecting Go To lets you then pick the warehouse. You can go to the warehouse. On the map, your white dot moves off, and in the top right window, we get a little graphic of our van beetling through LA, like just a picture of LA, and then a van goes across it. When we reach the warehouse, we can send our rookie in to start investigating. And once in a room, we have some more options open to us. We have Communicate, which lets you speak to the rookie, but they never want to talk back to you. That's what I found. We have Search, which tells him to search the room for info and clues. We can place a bug in the location, snap pictures of anything interesting we find when we've searched it, wait for a short or long amount of time, arrest someone if we think we have our culprit, review any evidence we may have collected, and listen to anything from the bugs we have planted, identify someone who may be there to get a profile on them, or we can just quit. So, as we send the rookie into the various locations, we get a visual representation of them in the top left window. So sometimes there will be someone in the location. So before we go in, so you pick it, you go into location to the restroom, it'll say, I can hear voices coming from him. Do you want me to go in or not? And so, you know, if you don't go there. But if you do, then you basically start up a conversation. Usually they're just telling you, hey, what are you doing here? You should be in here. Get out. Sometimes while you're in there, people will enter the location and talk to us. They may give us clues, but mainly they just tell us to go away. At some point, cars will leave the warehouse. And if you're quick enough and get your rookie out, you can choose to follow them to their location. Then we get a whole new location to explore. I found a restaurant or something. That's what I found. And tried to find evidence of wrongdoing. So if all this sounds exciting, it isn't at all. The game comes with a good manual, lots of tips and hints, and even character profiles of the main characters, the main bad guys that are in the game. But none of that really covers the fact that this is just a bit dull. I found myself wandering from location to location, bumping into the same people, having the same conversations over and over. My rookie just kept asking for a job from these people. I don't know what he was doing. I was kind of communicating with him, saying, just ask him questions about stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you. Okay. I just wasn't really getting anywhere. I wasn't finding any clues. I found some couple of bits. I followed a car to a bar, that's what I found, and then had the same conversation with someone there and just found nothing of interest. Searching areas turned up very little of note. I just didn't feel like I was getting anywhere in any meaningful sense. There's a real lack of guidance and easing you into the game. Once it starts, you're just on your own. There's no real feedback if you're getting anywhere. And that's the main problem with this. You're just like, am I doing the right? Have I done anything? Is there anything to do? There's no like, right, go here first. Maybe find this and then drip feed the sort of thing. It's just like, oh, there you go. I found some records and a bill of work records. So it's basically times of day when people were working or whatever. But I didn't know what they meant anything. I found a bill of lading, but it didn't mean anything. There was nothing to tie it all together. No one was talking. No one was doing anything. I was searching all the references. So just having my rookie wander from place to place and tell me there was nothing there was not the sort of LA Crackdown I was expecting. It feels more like an adventure game to me, you know, this, but with added wandering, just with graphical pants on and using a joystick to put in commands. But it also felt like a lot of wandering and searching and aimlessness for no real reward. And I soon just couldn't be bothered trying to force my way into the game. I just didn't enjoy this. I found it dull and dreary. And it may be great underneath, and there may be sort of clever things and the whole, you know, arrest and trying to arresting and working out the mystery and going from place to place and all this sort of stuff. But it's really bland and boring to play, and it needed a better in. It needed to guide me in and give me something like a smaller task to do to get used to the mechanics and how things work. Search this, find this, prosecute that, say that, do this. There you go. Now on to the big case. They needed a sort of a demo mode or something like that. And it just doesn't have that. You remember when we played Killed Until Dead, and they had a tutorial mode, if I remember rightly, didn't they? Which sort of talks you through everything. Right, now go here, press this, look, and do this, and you can do this, and this is how it all works. This needed that. And if it had that, I may have had a sort of an understanding of how the main game was supposed to play out and what I was supposed to do and go in places. But there is none of that. And because of that, I just fell off it because I wasn't, I don't know. I waited until the middle of the night and started searching, but nothing changed. The view didn't change. No, I'm bored of this. That was it. So I just gave up on it after a while. Not for me. Really, really not for me. What about you?
Principally all the same issues. I think how the mighty have fallen, really, with Epics. This is quite possibly, and maybe, they've inadvertently created one of the dullest games that we've played in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, on the surface, if it had that kind of Killed Until Dead approach, keep the core things simple and just, keep the locations relatively simple and just keep the thematic. But it doesn't have that, and it doesn't have an in. It combines the worst elements of those kind of things with an almost Cosby notion of extensive text-based drama. So much to read in this game. It's just clicking and reading and clicking and it's boring. I find myself massively bored and not really finding myself getting into it as much as I tried. It requires a lot of the player, which is fine for a game of this type if you're going to go with it. And that's right from the get-go. And then maybe there's an audience for that. I don't doubt that there is maybe somewhere that would probably get into it. But £15 for a disc-only text adventure really is what it is. Mm-hmm. This is just a text adventure with a little bit of graphics in it and a little bit of engine in it. But it's ultimately is what you play is quite dull. I could never get anywhere. Nothing. Nobody was talking. Nobody was doing anything. It's the worst episode of Miami Vice ever.
Yeah.
I just wandered around, not doing a lot. And in a game like this, stuff needs to happen. You need to, and it didn't do it for me. This, and I just couldn't get past it. And in the end, I just was like, I'm just fed up of looking at screens and not getting anywhere. And I had to switch it off. So no, not for me. This one, bit of a misfire from Epics for me.
Yeah, LA Crackdown.
Yeah, good, very good.
Thank you. You are proud of that one. There we go. That's LA Crackdown. Let's move along. We've got one game left. By the title, this one should be Ace. Because Graham, you are the Vindicator.
The Vindicator, published by Imagine.
Aye.
This title screen: Martin McDonald, music Donald Duck. Then Jonathan Dunn. Don't know who coded it. That's why I haven't written that down. Why I haven't.
I'll tell you if you carry on.
Somewhere in there, find it. Anyway, so the blurb is nice and sweet and short for this one, which is nice, isn't it, when you get one of them? Invaders from a distant star have lain the Earth to waste. Mankind has survived, but only just. Small pockets of humanity lie scattered across the desolate landscape, and in one is a man wanting to fight back, waiting to strike a blow for his world, his kind. He is the Vindicator. Dun, 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 dun. Battle through tortuous mazes to infiltrate the alien computer system and build a device capable of eliminating the starborn invaders. Take to the air against the mechanized legions, race across the planet's surface in your high-powered jeep, then face the giant guardian of the catacombs in his underground lair. Be quick, be skillful, be the Vindicator.
Ooh.
There you go. That's the blurb. This game is apparently the sequel to Green Beret.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
So apparently, I'm not
Not
sure
about
how
that.
or why or what. Maybe it's, I don't know. I didn't get that from it. So there's essentially 3 games here, 3 scenarios that you play through. And you've complete the first one, you go to the second, the third, and that's kind of what they were alluding to with the, fight your way through this, do that. Are you the Vindicator? The first one is called The Complex. And in this one, so the game starts obviously with a sort of I wouldn't say it was a great title screen, but it's a title screen anyway. And it's a sort of, press fire to start. Decent music. Jonathan Dunn music isn't bad for this. The screen is split when you do start the game into different areas for this particular part. The left-hand side is an image of your gun with an ammo cartridge indication. In the middle is the kind of square gameplay area for the maze and rooms you explore and where you control your Vindicator. On the right is your computer and lift pass display, cartridge display, compass direction, oxygen level, number of bomb components, score, and lives. Quite a lot crammed in there to that. Quite a lot going on. You control the Vindicator in this scenario with the joystick, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. The joystick and fire button do control your sprite, but you sort of walk downwards towards the screen, but you can sort of go up and down, but if you pull down, it'll walk towards the screen. Left and right can go either down different corridors or into rooms if there's a door, or lifts if there's one in that direction, or if you push upwards, he flips 180 degrees and you sort of walk back on yourself. It's a bit odd.
Yes, it is.
I don't quite get why they didn't just use up, down, left and right, but okay, they didn't. And I sort of, what I found with this was, these kind of navigation systems, we've had them before. It reminded me a little bit of Death Wish 3, reminded me of a couple of games of that ilk.
Yeah.
That
He-Man game.
He-Man game. Okay, I get it. All right, you're going to do it this way, fine. What you need to do in a scenario like that is make sure that the backgrounds that the maze you're in is varied enough and has enough visual cues for you to feel like you are getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, there are places you can pick up map components in this, and that flashes the map for a second, but it won't help you. It's a bit like the map in He-Man. It's of no use. So what you will end up doing, inevitably, is just wandering around and just sort of navigating your way through. And by luck, the judgment, you'll probably end up at a lift.
Yeah.
You'll go in and out of rooms. And in some of the rooms, there's things to pick up. There's lift passes and sort of things like that. In some of them, there's aliens in there, and you can shoot them and get the sort of component parts of things on there. And maybe you even get a bomb part if you're lucky. I never did, but apparently you can. You'll find it a bit of a pain in the ass because your weapon has different modes, and the initial mode is shoot slowly, which bullets don't shoot slowly. So you find yourself sort of wanting to shoot more than you can, and then the aliens go backwards and forwards, and they will always take away your oxygen, which is what your sort of limited supplies of ammo and oxygen. In a game like this, those are the stupidest things to be. I mean, ammo I get, and you can pick up more ammo, and you can change ammo to different things. So there are ammo out there that fires quicker, but it's limited. Mm-hmm. So you've got quite a lot of aliens and not a lot of ammo. And I never found any ammo to top them up. I found one different type. But essentially, you're just wandering around a maze in the first scenario here, looking for ways to get out of it. And eventually, you probably will if you just wander around enough. But it is a dreary episode of wandering in dull graphic corridors that all kind of look very similar. Dull graphics, really. The main sprite's quite nice. Your sprite, the enemies are okay. But every room that you go into looks exactly the same. It's kind of a ladder in the background, every single one. So there's no imagination, really. In fact, this initial scenario lacks visual imagination other than the main sprite, which is reasonable. Everything else looks like a really dull maze with really dull grey lifts, and it's just very boring and all very samey. If you do make it through that, and you'd need some patience to do it, but if you do, you'll get to scenario 2, where it changes tack somewhat. So scenario 2 is called the Tortured Land. And here, you actually start, it's like, it turns into a shoot 'em up, vertical scrolling shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
So you control a fighter plane, and you've got to use that to clear a path on the map, allegedly, with bombs, so that you can then drive your armored jeep through to the catacombs. So it's a very much a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up. The display and the logo changes at this point, so it goes from the Vindicator, just Vindicator. I'm guessing somebody didn't draw the right thing twice. At the top, you have your fuel status and your current number of bombs. At the bottom, your score. In the middle, you have your main gameplay area. Action is controlled with a joystick. The movement was okay, I thought. Graphics are passable, if a bit bitty. And there's lots of yellow in there, which is always, the background's a bit, yeah. Mm-hmm. Main sprite was okay. Everything else is off in some way that's just not that nice, a bit bitty. Weird mixes of resolution, again, leave much to be desired. It sort of works, but there's some flickering I noticed as well. And it just doesn't feel like it gels in any way to the first game that you played. It's like a completely different game. It's like you've just loaded up a different game. And you may as well have, really, for the difference it makes.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're progressing anywhere. Even when you're flying the airplane and it changes to the Jeep, it's not very well controlled. Just take a note of the way the Jeep controlled in Fernandez Must Die. That was much better than this. In fact, that was a much better shoot 'em up than this.
Far better.
So you've gone from a dull maze game to a very low average vertical shoot 'em up. Once you get through that, you're going to get to the final scenario, which is the catacombs. Now, there's a good soundtrack in that section. I'll give it that. But this is where it becomes a really dull bi-platform side-scrolling walk and shoot. And we've seen loads of them.
Yeah.
Sort of imagine a crap Rolling Thunder or...
There's exactly that.
Loads of games like that. It's not very good. Or later, RoboCop looks a bit like this as well, and a few of the Ocean licenses. And I think even there's another Ocean game that looks a lot like this. So they start to look a bit of a type.
Yeah.
It's impossibly hard, that third section. It's ridiculous. I lost all three of them, in about 8 seconds.
Yep.
On average. I just couldn't get anywhere. I tried to walk. You've got to walk left to right and shoot stuff. There's a lift if you can make it to that, but you can't. I just died so quickly. The backgrounds are really, really dull, badly drawn grey brick walls. The sprites are all okay, but this is so hard, and it actually feels a little bit unfinished and underpolished. So this game gets progressively worse as you go through the stages. There's lifts you can use, but it's really flicky when you get to them, and you'll be dead in seconds anyway. The sprites attack all the time, and it's very difficult to be able to fight them off or do anything with them. You are going to die in this very quickly. And I think the reason for all of this is because it's hiding that Imagine/Ocean problem. The problem being there isn't a hell of a lot to do, so we'll just make it really difficult because that's how we hide that fact.
Yeah.
And that's clear because there's nothing to do in this. In this level, you're just walking around shooting stuff and hoping to find stuff. I'd have rather have gone back to the maze game. I mean, I didn't like it, but it was better than that. So as a whole, it's not very pleasant, is it? All the three things are very loosely connected. They bear no resemblance to anything that's mentioned in the instructions that I could see. They all get progressively worse. There's no real sort of thread that pulls all these things together. They just feel like three interconnected games with maybe arguably the same character, but not really doing anything coherent. Maybe you could get some fun from mapping level 1. You might get some fun out of level 2 if you like shoot-em-ups, but not very good ones. You won't make it past 5 seconds in level 3 anyway, so you're never going to get further than that. It just doesn't gel together. Nice coding touches here and there for sure. Maybe nice sprite design, I suppose. But it's all lost in a game that simply doesn't work. It doesn't work as a game. It functions, but it doesn't gel together. So I found it gradually frustrating in the end. 64% it got in Zap. I think that's high. I'd have given this in the 30s to 40s. A dreary game that has literally no purpose. And I didn't enjoy it. What about you?
Yeah, same. You can't have a game that's as bad as this and call it the Vindicator. It's too good at, although it's just a bit weird, isn't it? It's like game. Vindicated. Who's vindicating? It sounds like a kind of cool name, like the Equalizer. But actually, the Vindicator is just someone who just like vindicates someone in it. Like, you were vindicated in your actions. That's all. Yeah, it's like a lawyer.
Yeah, it's just a good word to use, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds hard, but it actually doesn't mean what you think it means, maybe. 3 distinct sections, none of which are in any way fun or enjoyable in the slightest. A boring, bland 3D maze section, which has been ripped from Platoon, I thought, and Grisor and all those kind of things. This was coded, by the way, by John Megan, It's not
Okay.
listed on Lemon 64, but it is on Moby. Now, you may recognise it because, ironically, John Megan did RoboCop,
Oh, there you go. Explains that last level.
Untouchables,
Yeah, they all look a bit like that.
Total Recall.
Oh, there you go. I knew there was there. Total Recall looks exactly like that last level.
Yeah, so so he's that. Something. He also did Short Circuit. He also did Slap Fight. He's another sort of Ocean Imagine stalwart. Basically, did loads. Yeah. So he's been ripped from Platoon, followed by a crap vertical shooter that's been bettered by loads of other games. I don't understand. It's really wide, but that shooter, but because of the way they've done the UI on it, there's really little screen to actually play around in.
Absolutely.
Which is crap. And finally, a crap Rolling Thunder type shooter with ugly UI and annoying enemies and boring backgrounds. Some of the sprite work is good. There's some nice sprite work. Some of the graphics good. I thought the music's really the standout feature in this. It is good throughout most of it. I thought the music was really pretty good. But the game as a whole is just a mess of dull and repetitive guff. I was expecting something decent from the name and the ads for this. I know I shouldn't fall for the ads, but it looks kind of cool. And you're thinking, all right, maybe this is another, Fernandez Must Die. This might be something cool, a multi-action one. Maybe I've not played it, but I don't know. I think I was in my head. There's one similar name to this. There's one that's a similar name to this. I can't remember what it was. It comes later. It's not Tusker, but there's another one, something similar. I can't remember what it was called. There's a later game. It's something Eliminator, something Eliminator or something or other.
There is a game called Eliminate, but I'm not sure that it looks like this. There's another one beginning with V as well.
I think, is it Vendetta? Is that? I think I maybe
Vendetta. It's the one with the Matt Gray soundtrack. Yeah, Vendetta.
Yeah, was that a System 3 game or?
Yeah, it looks a little bit like a sort of a thick set version of Last Ninja, I seem to recall.
Vendetta. Let me just have a look. So I think I was getting this confused with that. Yeah, it does. Yeah. I played Vendetta, and I think in my head, it's got the car bit, hasn't it, in Vendetta? Where you have to sort of drive the car about. Yeah, so I think I was in my head. I mixed the two up. So I was expecting this to be Vendetta. When I got it, I was like, "This isn't that. This is nowhere near as good. It's just Vendetta, Vindicator. It's just similar words." But maybe an unexpected gem, but certainly not. All I got was some. All I got was some shit shoes from a shitty shoe bastard when I played this. That was like what I felt like. Yeah, and no one wants that. No one. No. Nobody wants shit shoes. This was, 64% is way too generous. I can see that maybe giving it for presentation because graphics are nice mostly, and although, like you said, there's too much yellow in that middle section. And the music is excellent. I really like the music, but the game itself is, to call this a sequel to Green Beret, my favourite run and stabathon is no, not having that. Because it's nothing like it. It's not even... It's absolutely nothing like it whatsoever. So what a boring, rubbish game to end on that was. Yeah, dreadful. Didn't like it at all. Here we go. The Vindicator. It was not vindicated. Should have been eliminated, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
There we go. That's it. That's it for this issue. For this episode, sorry. What did we look at? We looked at Katakis. It's not our type. It's our type.
Hey.
That's what it is. So we looked at Mr. Wino, which should never have been. Daley Thompson's Olympic Challenge, which is,
it's here to pump you up.
Absolutely. It's ruined my my biceps and my triceps.
Listen up, all you little boily boys.
And girly girls. Waggling. Why did it have to be waggling?
Hey!
Odysseus, Trojan Warrior, which I think is the biggest disappointment this episode because it's so close to being great.
It is, but then they put the horse in the tunnel. Not a good idea.
It's never good, no.
This sentence I didn't think I'd say today.
No, or ever.
They put the horse in the tunnel, man.
And I kept putting me back. There was no need for it. Tracksuit Manager, which was good for football manager games. Diamond, which was Cole. LA Crackdown, which was LA Crackdown.
Boring.
And the Vindicator, which was not. That's it. Well, there you go. That's a bunch of games. I don't know what we got coming up next week. Because obviously, October's just done in 2 weeks. So next week, obviously, along with all films and TV, we've got Summer Olympiad.
Ooh.
So let's see if that's any good. Can't be any worse than that Winter Olympiad one we played. Yeah. We've got Stunt Bike Simulator.
Oh, God's sakes. No.
More of that. Scuba Kids.
Interesting. Wally Bevan's soundtrack for that. It's quite interesting. It's got weird samples in it.
Yeah, I seem to remember something about the sound of that. Scorpius.
Okay.
Who
good
knows?
name.
Ball Blaster? Who knows? The
Okay.
Fury? Who knows? Psycho Pigs UXB? The dubious advert. Hot Shot and
Okay.
Ricochet. Now,
Rob Hubbard
interestingly,
soundtrack.
apart from Stunt Bike Simulator, and there's nothing under 50% in that lot. So
Oh, God.
who knows? Everything's over 50%, so it's all better than average next week.
It's good. And I remember Ricochet having a good Hubbard soundtrack. It's got samples in it. I think it's Hubbard. Might could be wrong.
Could be wrong. Who knows? But yeah, so that's what we've got coming up next week. If you wish to support the sort of podcast, you can do that. You can head over to patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. It's £4.50 a month for the full fat experience. You get to join us on our Discord, ask us questions for our Ask the Podcast. When we ever do something special, if you were listening on the episode 100 special, you see that we had our patrons joining in all ways, joining us on the podcast, writing reviews, recording reviews, and all that. You get the chance to sort of partake in all that when we do those kind of things. So that's cool. You get the episodes ad-free and early as well. So lots of good stuff if you wish to do that. And obviously it helps us out as well, keeps us going, pays for stuff and all things like that. So that's cool if you want to do that. Or you can just chuck us £1 on there if that's what you want. And that's also greatly appreciated. And so, yeah, you can do that. If you want as well, if you listen to this on YouTube, I'm going to do the, subscribe and like.
Yes.
I thought I'd never say that, but I don't know what it does, but subscribe and like. It's up to you. But if you want to do that, that'd be cool. I don't know. This was wasn't a particularly stunning episode, was it, of games?
No, some good attempts. Katakis is good attempt. And, of course, Trojan Warrior had its moments, didn't it? But the rest of it is all a bit pants.
Yeah, and Tracksuit Warrior, Tracksuit Manager is
Tracksuit
good.
Manager,
If you like that. If you like
that, yeah, it's a good one of those. It is.
Very good one of those. Yeah, best one we played so far, but the rest, not so much. Yeah, so there you go. That's it this week. We'll be back again next week. We've told you the games we're going to do. I think we should call it a day and get out of here.
I think that's it.
And leave our listeners to stop listening to us. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Keith Richant and The Living Spaghetti. And we will be back again next week with more of the same. So we will see you again then.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.